Welcome back to Divisive Issues, the foul-mouthed, spoiler-filled comic book podcast where two fans and two non-fans talk about controversial or noteworthy comic books. I'm Ryan.
I'm Sly.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Daryl.
And we're here. It's still a Patreon drive. And we're here for part 2 of 52.
How am I, at this point, am I a non-fan if I'm reading through 52 issues of this fucking event in a month?
Well, the thing is, you don't, even if you've read a lot of comics, that doesn't mean you like them.
That's true.
No, but like...
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you like this story.
No, I was thinking it's like, it's not necessarily being a fan, but like how you guys have expertise in this, and we do not.
Two experts and two amateurs.
Yeah, now I feel like I'm not so much of an amateur anymore.
I don't know. Me and Ryan go nuts for the staples of this genre. Well, you guys are always criticizing it. I want to call you fans.
That's true.
I don't know, it's like we criticize it an awful lot.
But we criticize, like, okay, I guess you can say, if you don't like massive tie-ins and characters dying all the time, wow, we're not true fans. If you don't like to see fucking all your favorite characters die, you're a shitty fan.
Sly also doesn't read like any modern comics.
Yeah, but anyway, whatever. It's our branding, okay?
All right,
I know
sorry.
It's false advertising.
Sorry for peeling
It's okay.
back the curtain and revealing how icky and sticky we are.
It is
So
middle of
two
summer.
icky people and two sticky people talking about comic books.
Yeah.
So we, if you listen to last episode, we've been talking about 52, the 52 issue weekly series from DC. Listen to the first episode because there is way too much for us to recap. So if you haven't listened, go back to last week and listen because we are just going to jump into it. We are covering issues 14 to 26, still breakdowns by Keith Giffen, still written by Jeff Johns, Grant Morrison, Greg Rucka, Mark Waid, and the art now is Eddie Barrows, Chris Batista, Joe Bennett, Dale Eaglesham, Phil Jimenez, Drew Johnson, Sean Mole, and Patrick O'Leary.
It's like a
penciling duty.
crossover for the writers, too. So many people. Yeah.
Yes, so many.
And like
people.
Sly had mentioned before in the first issue, is that this is a strong recommendation for you to read this and not just hear us recap this. Not only because we're bad at recapping, but this is a very good and interesting event that you should be reading first rather than hearing us.
They're saying that.
Sly's crying inside. Finally, it's happened.
It's because Sly he oscillates so quickly between when people say it's like, I don't like this thing. He's like, he hates it. He fucking hates it. And he'll never like anything again.
I think we said last week.
You know why Sly oscillates so much? Because he's a fan. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
Good one.
Nice.
I think we did say last week this is, for most of us, one of the best events that we have covered on this.
It began like that. We'll see what happens as it goes on.
Okay, so yeah, we are doing it in 4 chunks. So we covered the setup last time. Now we're in part 2. So it opens with Renee Montoya and the question, Charlie, asleep on a plane going to Kahndaq, the country that Black Adam rules. And they, as we covered a little, there's a little bit of political stuff going on. So they can't fly directly there. They have to fly to Paris. Then they have to fly somewhere else. So like it's, to get into Kahndaq, it's not, you could tell that they're not on good terms.
It's also, I just like the small, it's just like one page of fleshing out how they have to do 2 layover flights and stuff. And I love just, that's a thing in this world. That it's like people don't like Kahndaq enough that you have to go to a country that does like Kahndaq first.
Yeah.
And also, like, Renee Montel is going into this being like, this guy is a dictator, he's a madman. And when they enter Kahndaq, they have, like, pictures. Everyone's, like, praising Black Adam, so it seems like they're all, like, it's like dictator sycophantry, like, you know, like with China.
Yes.
Or,
Yeah.
And they're there to investigate Intergang, the like global criminal syndicate. And they land, and it's like this busy market square. They're throwing flowers. There's children cheering in the streets. It's obviously a very happy place to be.
So it seems.
Yes, so it seems. Then we cut to John Henry Irons, Steel. His doctor is meeting with him because they have just discovered, right? Did they already discover the thing about the genes?
Yeah, last time
Yes.
they knew that Luther gave him the metagene
Yes,
thing.
so Luther gave him the metagene, and they're still investigating and everything, but he is now completely Steel. He is fully covered, and he has been spending all his time building a new suit for his niece, who...
Yeah, and he blamed himself for driving her to, for, like, if I was a better uncle, he would have done that.
Yeah.
So I really dislike this touch because I like it more of him being like the hard parent that's like, you have to build your own suit if you want the recognition, rather than like, you know, this was a surprise birthday party. I was only being mean to you because I was going to like give you this cool new thing.
I think he might be like desperately trying to be like, maybe I can get her
he's building
back.
it now. I assume
Yeah, he's building building it now. He was not building it.
Yeah, he was not looking forward. That's the thing. That's why I like this touch, because he was so hard-ass about her before. Now that she reacted to it, he blames himself for her leaving, and now he's doing this to try to get her back to him.
Yeah. And he even says, she's like, it's a masterpiece. He goes, it's not. It's too little, too late. Because, like, so he started building it after she already left as, like, a please come home. And he just, like, breaks on the floor and he's like, I don't know how to get her back. This is, like, the only thing I know how to do.
And I like it because it shows, like, Steele is a hard-ass son, but he really does love his niece.
Yeah. Get it? He's a hard ass because he's made out of steel.
Then we have this weird-looking fucking red robot.
So we have Will Magnus.
This is why this scene made me love the middleman. I mean, that's the whole entire subplot like going on here.
So
this scene.
So Will Magnus is the one of the doctors, that one of the mad scientists from before that is on all the like antidepressant medications, and he's been trying to get his robots, his metal men, to come back online. And part of the
and like Ryan said, like they're a comedic trope. So it's like Jerry Lewis as a robot coming back to life, making like comments.
And part of what Will Magnus's like Silver Age discoveries are that each, you guys are gonna hate this so much, but each metal has its own like innate personality. So, like, when he turns on Mercury, he's always, like, the comedic relief character, and, like, you know, Iron is always, like, this gruff, like, Ben Grimm type character, and they all look goofy, too, like, they're cartoon characters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're basically, like you said, it's like a comedy troupe that, like, does fun, wacky adventures. And he starts to talk, and it's like, Doc Magnus, and it's Mercury, and then he, like, melts, and he can't get it to work. His responsometer technology.
And he's showing this to a bunch of suits in the back who are, like, from the government, and they're like, give us your metal man technology. He's like, I can't even get it to work. Look, every time I turn him on, he just melts. He can't, whatever.
Yeah, and then there's some nice other little touches that the suits are like, we want the metal men, Doc, but you must even have a fortune in platinum here, just sitting here. And he's like, I don't really think of her in those terms.
And they wanted to dismantle. So now since they can't get the technology to work, they asked him to just dismantle the metal men, give them the parts basically, and Dr. Magnus refused to do that.
Yeah, because Dr. Magnus views them as his friends, not just raw materials.
Yeah.
So then Doc goes to visit Professor Morrow, his old teacher, who's like the mad scientist that thought he was about to get abducted. And we just get a little bit more of the prison complex than we've seen before, where it's just like mad scientists are constantly like breaking out. It's like, you can't keep me here.
Mad scientist runs out with, it looks like a mirror. He freezes like a mailman.
And then a girl on a motorcycle busts out of the back of an ice cream truck with an Uzi, and she's one of the guards. And I'm like, I guess she just waits there for mad scientists to break out.
I like the metal men stuff because that is like, it is a cool callback to both the character and like what's happening here. But when I get here, it's like, this is just like crazy like Looney Tunes type of world.
Yeah,
it feels like the Venture Brothers before it feels like especially at the times it would be more novel than it is now. Like now they have a lot of parodies like this, but this feels more like parody of the superhero genre in a lot of ways. Mad scientist stuff.
Well, I mean, that's the tone that they're going for. It's like these mad scientists from the Silver Age that can create freeze rays out of mirrors. Yeah. Like, how do you keep them in check? You just have to have them in this like hyper secure, everybody about to stop them at all moments.
And you really can't give them anything. If you give them a mirror, they'll turn into death.
Yeah, exactly. And so Magnus goes to visit Professor Morrow, and when he gets in there, he's gone. He's been abducted, and they're like, "Oh, we should call the Elongated Man. He's the wacky detective." And they're like, his wife died. He's kind of going through a nervous breakdown. Let's try to figure it out ourselves. And he leaves Professor Morrow left one letter for Will Magnus. Then when he opens it, it's machine code. It's a secret code.
And Will Magnus realizes that Dr. Morrow was the one who created the first artificial souls. So like it suddenly dawns on him, and that's when the scene comes.
What dawns on him is Dickbot, and I'm so mad that you guys were like, "Oh, Superboy punching reality is a meme," when I'm like, "This is the biggest meme I've ever seen in comics."
Yes,
a lot of these pages became memes. I don't know if you've noticed more as they come up, but this is one of the biggest memes.
So this was when I first read this like years and years ago. I was like, I know this reaction page, and it's him just like staring at a piece of paper like wide-eyed, and that was a dick butt meme.
That was the dick butt meme.
Yes. Yeah. I think it was like one of the original ones. And I remember seeing it and be like, oh my God, I feel like I'm so like in on the joke.
Yeah, when I first read it, blew my mind. Like, I feel like I just emerged with pop culture for a second. But it was just like, by reading a comic book, I was merging a pop culture.
It's the only time Sly and I ever felt part of society.
Yeah, the mainstream society that talks about dick butt and dick butt memes.
So then we go back to Kahndaq, and Charlie, the question is on the phone with one of his friends, Tot, and he is going to be shipping them a bunch of supplies. So things, like resources and everything, so that they could better investigate
And
this stuff.
Tot is the mad scientist. I don't even know if he's a mad scientist. He's the scientist that gave him
probably
the
is.
ability, the putty mask, so he turned his face into nothing.
Yeah.
Also, every time we go to the Renee Montoya question stuff, we get a lot of narration again, like the
internal narration.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like we said, it's very noir.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because last time it ended with Black Adam giving his new, his girlfriend the powers of Black Adam, and she became Isis. And now we're seeing it from the street level, where in this country, Black Adam has just declared a fortnight of feasting in honor of Isis, and they're spreading the wealth with the people, and that's what she's pushing Black Adam to do.
Yeah, and girls are dressing up as Isis and celebrating.
And one girl is really fat, and everyone's looking at her. I don't know if it's a fat joke or not.
I don't know if it's a fat joke.
No, I think that panel is framed that way so we can see that they're being followed by some guy.
Oh, because the panel is Renee's blocking this fat woman from our view, the reader's view. Then she walks away in the last panel. I didn't notice the guy's following her. I just noticed the fat girl.
I did the same thing as you. I didn't even notice the guy. I'm like, the fat girl just
It's because she wasn't in the panel with Renee.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, because she's wearing the ISIS suit, and the rest of her more skinny friends are wearing the ISIS suit. So
and they're all looking at her, so she's the focus of the panel,
yeah.
Maybe inadvertently, but it looks in terms of my quick glance, she's the focus.
Yeah, 52's garbage. It's trash.
If I ever want to tail you guys, I'll just have to go somewhere where people are different weights, and I'll be able to sneak right by.
America, very easy to do in America.
I noticed the guy
No,
following.
everyone's the same weight in America, overweight.
So as they're now going down this darker alleyway, and they're looking for the specific address that they think that that's where an intergang contact is. And Renee's like, don't look now, but I think we're being followed. And Charlie's like, yeah, I've known the whole time, but don't worry, I think it's right over here.
Yeah.
And then when they get up to the place that they're looking for, the secret warehouse, they're looking for the Wolf Man from the end of last episode, and Vic Charlie makes himself all faceless, and they kick in the door, and there's just mutilated bodies everywhere, bodies ripped in half, blood everywhere, headless things, and they're like, oh, we better look around. And we get a little bit more of Renee, not knowing her role, where she's like, the cop in me is screaming to, not touch anything, but the detective wants to know what's going on. But the cop voice is getting quieter and quieter and easier to ignore. And they also find a bunch of empty boxes of rat poison.
And speaking of the cop voice, cop show up.
So then when they go outside, all of Kandok's police force are like, we'll execute you foreign dissidents here and now if you don't come up with us. And Renee had mentioned earlier that every Wednesday Black Adam publicly executes all the criminals, and then as they're getting taken away, she's like, please tell me today's not Wednesday. And then the issue ends with a quick cut back to Dr. Magnus, and he turns on Mercury, and Mercury's like, hey, long time no see. I finally remember you. And he says his catchphrase, did I ever tell you that the only metal that's a liquid at room temperature is mercury? And Will Magnus is very happy, and he's like, you sure did.
The machine code worked.
Yeah, so Professor Tio Morrow helped him. Helped him turn on the metal.
Oh, the villagers get that? Oh,
no, I just every time I hear it, I'm like, okay.
Well, his name's Tom.
Great.
Tom Morrow.
Oh, yeah, that's worse.
Yeah, it is worse.
And thus ends the first issue of Volume 2.
Yeah, so issue 2, cover says Booster Gold Memorial issue, and it shows Booster Gold's cracked glasses with blood sprinkled over it, and in the reflection is Supernova floating above where his glasses are.
Yeah, well, when I saw this, I was like, oh, yeah, it says His Last Battle by Clark Kent. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, man, they're really just pulling for, the death fake-outs, the classic DC stuff, where it's Robin dies this issue.
Yeah, every death in this story is going to be a fake-out.
Yep.
Keep believing that, Daryl.
So I love the way it starts, because Booster is he's spray painting off his his logos, his contracts, because they're like, hey, you suck, we don't want to be associated with you.
Yeah, and we'll see.
Yeah, and then he draws figures of Supernova in the magazine.
Yeah.
And so now he's living in a trash hotel because he can't get any work.
And the thing that I like about it is we've talked about how these issues are in real time, and like he's like the logos and the magazine and like him like looking at articles about how he's an asshole. It's day 1, day 3, day 4.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's not just like a quick montage. It's like, and time actually has weight here.
Yep.
Because like every issue is set 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
And to emphasize how much of a dick Booster Gold is, like
Is he a dick or is he's just frustrated? He doesn't know what to do.
No, but he is a dick because somebody shows up in Metropolis, and so he's like giving him like stories that he can, he can handle. And he's like, a submarine just showed up in Metropolis, and he's like, "Good, I'm not fucking Aquaman's case. Shut the fuck up!" Like he's like too good for these cases. Like that's Aquaman's case. Like fuck you, I'm Booster Gold. I'm so fucking good. And then he like realizes, oh wait, what's the submarine doing in
It's
Metropolis?
that he wouldn't be noticed going underwater to stop a submarine.
Yeah, so he's just a fucking dick. Like there's no glory.
Yeah.
He doesn't want
Well,
to do
if
it.
you want to publicize yourself, you gotta get out where people can see you. But
Yeah.
a submarine shows up in Midtown, a submarine crash in Midtown, and he realizes, it's like, wait a second, how does a submarine end up in Midtown?
Yeah. And by the way, that's also one of the reasons why Jeff Johns later capitalizes that the fact that Aquaman's always underwater. He doesn't like the most saving of humanity ever.
Yeah.
But because it's all underwater, like Cthulhu-like monsters, no one ever knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Oh, Aquaman, what a fucking dork!" When in reality, he's like fighting like.
So
sea
speaking of
monsters.
which, this submarine is covered in a Cthulhu-like monster.
Yeah. And so, cut to back to Renee and Vic. They've been in prison for a while now, and basically, like this is like a hell prison. They basically torture. They don't want to know the truth. They just want to beat the shit out of you until you confess.
Yeah.
And they take Renee out. She's separated from Vic, so they take Renee out of her cell. And when she's passing Vic's cell,
And she says like they've been beating him twice as hard as me.
Yeah.
You know, last time I saw him, he didn't look so great.
yeah. So when they pass the question, Vic Sage's cell, he's missing. So then she starts freaking out. She asks what happens to her friend. And all of a sudden, she notices that room's filling her smoke as the guards try to grab her. And out of the smoke comes Vic's fist, and he punches out the guards and helps Grenade take out the guards. And the two of them prepared to escape as they're both beat.
She has to carry him out of here.
Yeah,
'cause
they're
he's
both
been
really beat up.
Yeah.
This looks like a job for Supernova, Clark Kent says
Yeah.
back in Metropolis.
Yeah, and then he goes to try to learn more about the sea monsters that just arrived. And as he's running by his storage room, he says, storeroom, my old friend, I miss you already. And so the sea monsters attack. Booster goes trying to fight it. Now that it's on land, so he can actually get some credit for fighting it.
And he's doing a pretty bad job.
Yeah, he's getting the ship kicked out of him. He carjacks him like it's GTA. And she's like, "Get your hands off me, you perv! Help!" And he throws her cart into the monster.
Yeah. And then he grabs a power line from the subway, and he's like, "I'll electrocute it," but it just blows the power grid to the city. So
Yeah,
like,
and Clark-
he can't do anything.
And Clark Kent's like, "No, please don't!" Oh, fuck! Clark Kent knew. Like, as from after years' experience, knows you're not supposed to do that. And he's like, "Oh shit!" And
And there's some panels of like the whole city being like, and he's just like head in hands, like, "Oh my god."
I just love like Superman like being forced to watch other people
Yeah.
just fuck up his job. Like, god damn it! And so everyone's like, "Fuck you, Booster Gold!" Like, "Oh, good job. Now we're blind. Is the monster still here? Fuck you, like you trash hero."
But Supernova shows up to save the day, the new masked superhero in town.
Yeah, and then he's like, ignore the insults, Booster. You're not gonna pay attention to these people, are you? Of course you aren't. I mean, why start now? And Booster goes like,
love that.
"Fuck you."
Yeah.
And he's just like being the shadow
So
of
mean to him.
Supernova. He's like, "You're not the hero in the city. I am. You can go to hell."
And Supernova's just talking shit the whole time. Listen to yourself. You're not a hero. You're a billboard. You turned my stomach. You never had the confidence to earn people's respect. So you try to buy it.
You think I'm a joke? How funny am I now, huh? You're too pathetic to be a joke. Gold, you're just a loser.
It's brutal.
Yeah. And so then they start fighting over who's gonna save the city because the reactor core, because the monster's dead, but the reactor core is in danger of
Because this is a
exploding now.
nuclear sub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nuclear sub. And so Booster goes like, "No, fuck you, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna get the glory." And he puts a shield around the sub and tries to make it float into the air.
And the whole time Skeets is like, "You're pushing yourself too hard. Don't do this. Don't do this."
Yeah, he's like, "That's right, every damn body. Forget Supernova. The name of the claim to fame is Booster Gold. I'm back, baby. I'm back," and explodes, and his corpse falls to the ground.
Sly seems to have taken joy in this, but I feel like this was a sad moment.
This
'cause
was a sad moment.
Like he's trying desperately to show that he's a hero, and even Clark Kent is like, "Oh my god, he's way stronger than I even thought he could." Like that I didn't think he would be able to lift this big submarine into the sky, put a force field around it, save because he essentially saves the city here from having a nuclear explosion in the middle of downtown.
Yeah.
Midtown.
Midtown. You're right.
But even though Supernova goes to grab the body, they showed the body, and it's just a skeleton in Booster Gold's costume.
Yeah. And the thing that I really love about this, because it's such a bold choice, is after like Ralph Dibny last time just ripping apart Booster, and here Supernova ripping apart Booster. Like every time I read this, I expect him to be like, no, like I'm finally gonna do something right. I can sacrifice myself for this. But he's just like, I need to prove that I'm the best. He never says like, I will die for this city. He's like, I will earn respect. Look at how great I am. And it's such a good character choice. It's not a redemption. He does die saving everybody,
but his
motivation
selfish
it's
reasons.
still for himself. Yeah. And I love Booster Gold.
I was so sad when I saw that happen, because Booster Gold is like one of the 3 reasons I'm reading this, and then he died. I'm like, oh, like I didn't think they'd kill him, and now that he's dead, I'm like, oh no, like, because that storyline's gone.
What are the 2 other story arcs?
It's Black Adam and it's Renee in the Question, I would say.
Okay.
I'd say everything else, there are interesting bits in the other one, kind of like the mad scientist stuff, but it's not the reason why, I'm invested. Whereas, I was really invested in Booster Gold, because I'm like, it's cool to follow a hero that's, like, very selfish and doing things not for heroic reasons, but still doing the right thing. And then he does the right thing and he gets killed for it. I'm like, oh, poor guy.
Well, luckily for you, now we get to see Black Adam and Renee's story arc more as we get to week 16.
So week 16, it's a cover of Renee in the Question in Kahndaq with guns out, and then there's Black Adam and Isis in the back on a poster. And basically, Black Adam and Isis are saving children, and he's basically thanking her for, pushing him on this path of, righteousness.
They saved children, but they brought them to a garden that they planted for Isis as thanks for saving them.
There's such a nice touch where there's this garden that this is like Isis's garden, like that.
And she's like a nature hero.
Yeah, and there's one empty spot, and she's like, "Oh, did you save that part for me, children? What would you like me to grow there, jasmine?" And the kids are like, "No, this land is to remain untouched. The great Black Adam told us about your brother, Aemon. He is like us, but he is still not free. When he comes home, that land will be planted, and the great gardens will be complete. We pray for his return." And it's like, just such a sweet, like, little kid representation of, like, the mission is not over until your brother is safe, like we are.
And then, in the midst of all this, Black Adam pulls out the diamond that Cleopatra had, and is like, "Be my wife," and proposes. Then we cut back to the darker side of Kahndaq, where Renee and the Question are sneaking around a dockside. Because they're
living inside a dock.
Yeah,
they're living
inside the
storage
big
containers.
Like shipping crate. Yeah, that Tot had sent them, and in it is like some food, some supplies, and also that like sci-fi gun that Renee had.
And they realize that the wedding is gonna be coming up, and that Intergang is probably gonna attack the wedding.
Renee's trying to figure out how they're gonna end up attacking the wedding, and she connects it to the rat poison that was left at the Intergang hideout that was like staged for them, that the police caught them at. And she finds out, I can't remember if it's here or not, that you use rat poison in like bombs.
Right.
She realizes here, but she exposits it later, that the rat poison is an anticoagulant. So if you're hit with shrapnel from a bomb that's coated in rat poison, you bleed out.
Yeah.
So it's like a really brutal suicide bombing.
Yeah. And then we cut to
Mary
Marvel. Is that who that is?
Mary Marvel,
Yeah.
Okay.
Mary Marvel.
And Isis, she's like getting ready for the wedding. Mary Marvel's like, Black Adam's kind of crazy.
Mary Marvel is going to be the bride of honor, but Maid of Honor, and Bride of Honor, and she's like, "Don't marry that guy. He's a villain. Like, I've been with him for years." And she's like, "No, like he's changed. Like, he's a changed man. I think he's a good person." And she asks, like, if you think all this, why do you want to be my Maid of Honor? Mary Marvel says, because Shazam thinks he can change. So I'm doing it for Shazam.
It's almost silly here, where it's like you have this like guy who's like basically a supervillain from ancient Egypt, and he's like, "My hair looks bad," and then Billy is like, "Your hair never moves," and he's like, "My hairline's receding. I just didn't notice." It's just like funny.
I don't think you cared before. Can it be fixed? You're over 2,000 years old. Be thankful if you have any. Be thankful you have any.
Yeah, it's just funny. Like I wonder if people who have been alive for thousands of years could just revert to like the mundane.
Well, for one, in his defense, he was like trapped in a magic purgatory for like most of that time.
True.
He's only been like around for a little while.
Right, that is true.
But even it's the juxtaposition.
It's more of a joke that you're 1,000 years
It
old.
is a joke, and there's a lot of parts of this that I'm like, this is like very silly for such a because it's like you have this constant back and forth between like the jokey stuff and then like Booster Gold's skeleton after he explodes in a nuclear explosion.
That's what I like about the story because he shows each character at a different stage of their life. Because Black Adam's like as happiest right now, and everything's like this is the first time in his life he's able to joke around and be happy, basically.
Yeah.
And he said like he's always like respected Billy's family. Now he gets to have his own family, and like he's never wanted to share it before. And I especially like how silly and hokey these scenes are because they're immediately juxtaposed not with just an unrelated arc, but with Renee and Vic in like the shady parts of Kahndaq.
Yeah.
That it's like, look at how happy the dictator is.
Yeah.
When there's still all this corrupt stuff that normally before ISIS he would weed out and execute everybody, but now he's like focused on the positives and he's ignoring the dark side of Kahndaq.
Yeah, and they're running through slums as it's going on.
Yep, and they're basically trying to. They're like the suicide bomber must be in the crowd, so we have to try to find him. And you have like the other Marvel family people like running security, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Daryl, say who's here.
It's Freddie Marvel, the kid that was in the wheelchair before, and then there's just a big old tiger that's like, I'm hungry.
Talkie Tawny.
Oh, is he
The
the one
tiger
from the
that
Tiger
was
Museum?
referenced. That was referenced in that Jeff Johnson.
Wait,
story.
excuse me, what's his name?
Talkie Tawny?
Oh, Talkie Tawny. Okay, and there's Uncle Dudley, I guess, here.
Do you know I like glazed over the fact that there's a tiger yelling in the crowd? I was like, this is just whatever.
You have fallen too
There's
deep.
just so much shit like that I'm like, it's just a tiger man in the crowd.
Well, this is one of those things that like I think is I understand why it takes people like Daryl out of it, but to me it's like having a big Marvel wedding and not having the Marvel supporting cast there would be very weird.
Yeah.
And like, but it's not like it doesn't derail it where it's like let's focus on this a lot. It's just like they're there.
Yeah.
You could either just roll past it, or even if you're like, who is this? They're gone within 5 pages, so it's
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah, there's only one panel of all the extra characters, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep. So the wedding is about to happen. Renee's shoving through the crowd looking for who the suicide bomber might be.
And I love the way it's framed because all of the like Marvel family panels, most of them are either from up down, like looking down at the whole crowd, or from Renee's perspective, looking up at them like gods in the distance.
Yeah.
And you get even just from panel to panel, you get such juxtaposition of like the two worlds that are being shown.
Yeah, and the bottom of the Renee stuff is all tense. Like, where is he? Where is he? Like, as they're shooting through the crowd while everyone's happy and blissfully unaware in the sky.
Yep, and instead of having like normal vows, they're just like Shazamming it up. They're like Shazam, and then lightning strikes everyone, and it's good. Blah, blah, blah. She's fine. She sees someone taking a backpack
Renee
off.
climbs on top of Vic to see where the bomber is and just jumps off him. So like he's taking out temporarily. So it's up to Renee to stop the bomber.
And she sees someone with a backpack on, and when they go to take off the backpack, she sees that it's a girl, and it's a really young girl. Like, it's a kid, she says.
Yeah.
And so
they get this really tense, like, 2-page scene of like all the vows being interspliced with this red border of Renee jumping off of Charlie and trying to get to the suicide bomber to stop her.
And she's like, I can't shoot a kid. And the question is like, you have to. You're not going to get to her in time. And so while the vows are exchanged, you may kiss the bride. They kiss as she shoots this girl and kills her.
And the thing that I really love is the girl is saying a prayer in, I assume, Arabic. It doesn't specify what it's translated from, or Kandakian or whatever. And sure. And then it cuts to the next panel where Renee has shot her. She's lying on the ground. The girl is lying dead on the ground in a pool of blood, and Renee has just thrown up and is saying the Hail Mary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I when I first read this, I'm like, it's cool that she's praying because obviously she's not into Black Adam religion, and she's
suicide
like,
bomber.
Yeah, the suicide bomber. But now I read this, it's like, oh, they're praying to Cain, which becomes a thing. Like, and I'm like,
oh, Cain.
I really don't like that. Well, we'll get to that later.
Intergang.
Fucking intergang.
Essentially.
That's a very DC. That's a very like Jack Kirby DC kind of concept. Like,
But at the same time, it doesn't, because that hasn't really been super introduced yet. It just reads kind of like she's just praying.
It's just like a religion that's you don't know.
Right. Well, I assumed, I'm like, it must be some like Judeo-Christian or Muslim thing where they're like, fuck this.
well, it's Judeo-Christian.
Yeah.
I know.
Cain is in the Bible.
I know, but they okay, yeah.
But anyway,
It would have been more.
There's dumb religions. There's dumb religions in real life. I'm not gonna like seriously. You're gonna say it with dumb religions.
This is dumb religion than the crime Bible? Are you gonna?
Yes, there are.
Fuck
You
you,
want to
Fly.
fucking
I'm gonna
want to challenge me on this, Phil?
hey, be careful. Phil's a Scientologist. He'll sue us.
Yeah, Scientology. Fuck you. One of the most prominent religions in Hollywood.
Scientology's as dumb as crime Bible.
Yeah,
Yeah, so exactly. So suck my dick.
Yeah, in
Phil.
Scientology, everyone thinks it's a joke and laughs at.
Yeah, but there's enough money that it's able to get power anyway. If there's a religion based on getting money for yourself, you're gonna get enough money to fucking spread it against everyone's better intuition.
Sly, are you coming out as a crime Bibleist?
Yes, you got me.
Anyway, we'll save the crime Bible stuff for later. We go back to they have their bedchamber. It's like, ooh, time to seal the deal as they're wiping blood off the street from the shot girl.
Yeah, it's a good juxtaposition too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to our friends
In space,
on this alien.
getting off the planet with the
Animal Man, Starfire.
I just
Adam
want to
Strange.
say,
getting off the evil fruit planet.
just real quick, that Adam Strange and Animal Man have the exact same body and face.
You're
One has a
Adam
beard,
Strange
the other
has a
doesn't.
beard.
yeah.
Yeah, Adam Strange has a beard now. Like,
But I'm
fuck you.
still saying, if you put both of them side by side, and you said one grew a beard and one didn't, I wouldn't know who's who.
That's fair. I think that's a fair critique.
And
It's funny because they're like one of the few blonde DC heroes. Most DC heroes
That's
are black
true.
hair. Like there's a bigger problem with Marvel. Like it's just a coincidence that happens to be these two.
And they launch off the planet, and we get a great teaser next time on 52. And who's this? Who's that man with the cigar?
Lobo.
It's Lobo?
As they get off the planet.
Oh no! Don't do this.
Oh, please don't do this.
That's what the writers are thinking as they're writing, apparently, according to Vine.
Yeah. So even though Daryl's sad that Booster Gold's gone, we replace him with an even better character, right, everybody? It's time to be
better.
Lobo.
He's one of my favorites of DC. He's really what makes me think comics are a viable medium for storytelling.
And on the cover, it's Lobo sitting in space with Batman's cowl and Wonder Woman's.
He's sitting next to the cover of the first issue, that dramatic cover with Superman, Wonder Woman's sword stabbing into Superman's cape with Batman's cowl on top of it, and just sitting over it saying, "Only 35 more to go."
Yeah, and I'm like, cool.
Wait, did you see the news ticker on that too? At Home with Lobo. Does he really eat your entrails and thoroughly enjoy it?
How do you not love this character? How do you not?
Because
Oh God.
okay,
We'll get to him when we get to him.
Yeah. So it opens with the Lex Luthor Justice League squad that he's made. All the superheroes are attacking Cobra with a K.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels. There's a shapeshifter, there's a speedster, there's a super strong person, there's someone who could fly, and
Light
then
powers,
the leader of the
which
team
is just
is
energy
Natasha.
powers. And then it cuts to Lex reviewing the tapes and he's talking to his team and he's like, what can we do better and stuff.
and what better? He means marketing too. It's what could be our name?
Yeah.
We need code names for the heroes.
We need more unique costumes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like that one of the guys is code names. It's my parents are asking me what's my code name, because it's
Everyone.
their family's been infused with superhero stuff that's what they would be interested in.
Yeah.
And then
And we start to see some tension with the team when the speedster doesn't give a shit about it. She's like, "This whole thing makes me sick," and
it's when Lex is basically being like, "Natasha, my dear, we've got a team coming up to give you and Eliza makeovers at 5, though they'll be hard pressed to improve upon your beauty." So he's really just buttering Natasha up.
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
Irons' niece.
And Eliza is the speedster, and she has to keep taking this drug because her powers make it so she's always going super fast.
Mm-hmm.
And this drug, Sharp, that she injects. It looks kind of like an
The drug is
inhaler that
named
she just
Sharp. This drug, Sharp.
Yeah, that it's the only thing that slows her down.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Fuck you! So far you did this to me. I hate you." And she runs off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now Lex is like, "Oh, she's off the team, I guess."
Yep.
Gotta get a new member.
Yeah, and then we're back in space, and Starfire is blowing up some asteroids.
She's clearing path for their ship because they're trying to find a hospital planet, but everywhere around them is dead.
And also, Adam Strange, I kind of like this. Because he's blind now, he links his eye nerves into the ship camera so he can see.
and
You don't like that?
No, because it feels like it's just. There's never someone that's just I'm completely blind all the time. You always have things that's I overcome blindness by seeing through my ship.
Yeah.
but Phil's always the one bitching that you have with the technology they have, they'll probably find a way to overcome.
It's
They
future,
would.
some future civ.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just I just hate it.
But there's a big problem with this whole entire arc in general.
Yeah.
This is why I think Lobo was a welcome addition for me, at least.
Wow.
It's so this whole scenario isn't wacky enough to be just a wacky adventure. Like they're just on the planet, like it's a very typical sci-fi setup. You're on the planet where the food is poisonous or whatever. A guy's hunting you. It's not wacky enough to
A
be memorable.
Jack Kirby character is hunting you.
That's fair.
But it's like it's just a design.
But he's still like any standard.
you can feel a random generic fucking.
But I'm saying like it's especially like a throwback to old weird 70s stories and stuff.
But it's not. I agree with Sly. I don't think it's weird enough yet.
Yeah, it's not weird enough. Like when Lobo gets in, then starts getting to like let's have a wacky premise to spice things up a bit. And so and then but just to clarify what I don't like about the scene is Adam Strange basically tells us what his relationship with Starfire is, saying he doesn't like her because she's too much of a princess and pampered, and I'm too much of a loner. I don't like dealing with people in general. And I'm like, this whole story arc is not really character driven enough to be interesting character wise.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
the scenarios aren't wacky enough to be.
Yeah, like their relationship with each other barely manifests itself other than Adam Strange doesn't like that they're eating the fruit.
Yes.
And then here where he's like, I don't like space princess.
We have to be told what he feels about her. Like the dialogue isn't telling us.
And you need to show not tell.
Yeah.
And one of my issues with this plot, like this is always my least favorite plot of the whole book. Yeah. But one of the reasons why, too, is I feel like we never spend enough time to develop any of these relationships where it's just like every few issues, they're like, here's 3 pages. And to me, it's like, why put it in when everything else is so character-driven? Yeah. This is like, it's not wacky enough, like you said, but it's not character-driven enough yet either.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they end up, like, someone throws a rock or a meteorite at Starfire, and then they land, or an asteroid.
She's like, somebody threw a rock at me. Like, that was purposeful.
Animal Man exposits a little bit about his origin.
He exposits about how he saw Grant Morrison when he was in his story, because Grant Morrison had a big meta plot where he meets Grant Morrison.
Well, he really, his main thing is he just says, like, I met these beings who, like, opened me up to the whole universe. Maybe they were aliens, because aliens gave him his power. Maybe it was God. I don't know. But,
the writer
like,
of the story.
Yeah. But, like, he doesn't... It's exposition in a way that I think is comic booky and vague.
I just gotta fight. I'm assuming Phil and Darryl had no clue that's what they're referring to. But as people who read Animal Man's run, we knew. But, like, it was a way to allude to that without being explicit that he met Grant Morrison.
And it sets up that, like, even though he's very much the, like, earthbound domestic hero, he's still got his powers in this weird alien
How dare you
way.
assume that I didn't know that was Grant Morrison he met?
You can't play that card. And then the giant...
The Galactus guy shows up.
Yeah, Devil Lance shows up, and he's like, gotcha now. He pulls his spear out of the ship that was powering the ship to move, and it looks like he's gonna, like, kill them as he goes to attack them, and then suddenly, as they're looking out the window, just, like, his intestines fly across over the window, and they're like, what's out there? And it's Lobo with a big gun and a space bike.
If you don't know Lobo, he hasn't been in the story yet, he's just like this big edgelord in space.
Lobo is like that cowboy guy by regular, like always, like, because he always has a space bike. He has a space bike.
It's not like always. It's like that, but that cowboy's guy's shtick is just like yeehaw. Whereas Lobo's at least a little bit more fleshed out, but man, he's just too much.
Yeah, and they just exposit a little bit because Animal Man's like, I don't know who Lobo is, and he's a superhuman bounty hunter, a genocidal sociopath.
He killed his entire race.
He killed his entire race for fun.
Yeah.
So that's why he's the last
and to
Zardian.
really show you who Lobo is, Starfire goes out and talks to him, and we get word bubbles are going on, but like we can't hear them because we're assuming from inside of the ship with Animal Man and Adam Strange. So we're like, what are they talking about? Then Lobo
I think this scene's
he
pretty
sticks out
funny.
his tongue, he grabs her shirt, and he takes off her top.
Yeah.
And then and she looks at him and she just makes the money making, like she rubs her fingers together. And
he looks taken aback, but in one scene, it's like, and Animal Man and Adam Strange are like, fingers crossed inside, like, what the hell is happening out there?
And he keeps her top. First of the story arc so far, she wears Animal Man's shirt.
Yeah, she takes Animal Man's shirt, so she's actually more clothed now than she was when she was in her costume.
And here's another problem with the story, because I think Lobo works best when he has a strong personality to play off of, like a Superman or a Guy Gardner. The closest they come to is Starfire, but Starfire, it's all mute, so we don't get to see much of her, like, bouncing off him, which is another reason why...
It's a pretty funny exchange either way. It's just like the rest of this that I'm like...
It's just Lobo.
So Lobo's like, okay, I'm going to help you guys out, I guess in exchange for the bra.
No, he's joined the church and turned his back on violence, but he's really struggling with it. Obviously,
which I thought was just a fucking hilarious premise. Lobo is a pacifist now.
Yeah, but he still has Devil Lance's head speared on his spine.
Yeah, as he's a pacifist.
Why do Galactus people have like large intestines?
Because
they're
Jack
big.
Kirby created them and he likes large people. This is like Ryan asking, why is there always fucking giant machines on every Jack Kirby comic?
No, I mean like, why do they have human anatomy?
Oh, why are they humans?
Why do they have intestines?
Because it's just Jack Kirby.
It's Jack Kirby. He likes having humans being big. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we see, is this Red Tornado?
This is Red Tornado.
Yeah.
Okay, he's in Australia. He wakes up, and he's kind of like ripped apart. He has no arms. His chest is blown open, and he just goes, reboot online 52. And then we have Indigenous Australians,
When Loco says 52, nah, mate, Australia, and they're in Australia.
and that's how that ends. And that does not come up for the rest of our arc.
Hey, it comes up again. It comes up again.
In our,
It does at the very
It
end.
does.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Very briefly. Like, it doesn't
Okay.
explain
So-
anything.
Yeah. Sly alluded this at the beginning, but I just want to real briefly. At the end of every issue in the trade, they have little like editorial notes from like the creators, and Keith Giffen, who does all the layouts and breakdowns for this book, created Lobo in the 80s. And he just says like, I remember cringing at the summit when his name was brought up and everyone looked at me and I'm like, I like him, but like I don't have anything else to say, and I'm kind of bored with him as a character. And they're like, "Don't worry, Grant Morrison will do something with him." And Grant's like, "I don't really like Lobo either." And then they were like, "Come on, do something." And he's like, "I guess I'll make him a pacifist. That sounds pretty cool."
I just love the concept that you like. Whenever Lobo shows up in the comic, everyone's like, "Oh fuck!" I like the idea that the writers feeling the same way.
And I just want to read the final paragraph in this is, and I still think that word balloon on the cover, only 35 more to go, was a direct stab at me. We're 17 weeks in and I was still sounding off about lead time and ship dates and hitting each week. OCD doesn't begin to describe it. And having Lobo deliver the line, well, that was just cruel. I love Keith Giffen. So week 18 starts with the House of Mystery.
Which has a mailbox that says Kane on it.
It's a guy holding up a mailbox.
It's Kane's house.
And the cover is framed like it will be like a House of Mystery style story where calling
Yeah.
Dr. Fate, all Detective Chimp and Ralph Dibny
Chimp.
all are horrified.
Yeah.
Phil's favorite.
And one thing that I know, like, so this is one of those issues that, like, dumps in a bunch of new characters, and I just want to say that it is framed where, in this House of Mystery, as we get this mysterious figure walk through the hallways, we see a photograph that's Ralph Dibny, the elongated man, with everybody who's in this issue as some sort of, like, mystery team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is, but yeah, when Phil Bryan says this is where we start dumping a lot of characters in, this is where I became positive that I was going to hate this fucking series.
Yes, me too. So there are a lot of these characters. This is actually their first appearance, so it's just supposed to be like vague mystery team that comes in.
First,
it doesn't really
is
matter.
it
who
first
they are.
appearance in this comic book or in DC?
Ever.
Oh, okay.
It didn't matter for Daryl when it came to Chinese heroes, so I don't think it's going to matter here.
Yeah, not Detective Chimp. He is a classic beloved character.
Classic.
But a lot of these other like mystery characters,
Beloved.
and they're going to find this guy Tim, who's another like detective magic character, and he's wearing Dr. Fate's helmet. And Dr. Fate is like basically Doctor Strange of DC.
Except like it's like a helmet that goes from person to person, and they become like Dr. Fate. They become like this wise.
The helmet gives them Doctor Strange's
Yeah,
powers.
but also I think he also changes their personality to be more like.
It was funny
Dr.
Yeah.
because before this began, me and Phil were talking about this, where Phil's like, "Hey, you found this helmet?" I'm like, "I'm pretty sure that's just Doctor Strange, but DC." So it's great
So
hearing you guys
for what it's
confirm
worth,
it.
Dr. Fate is 20 years older than Doctor Strange as a
This
character.
Yeah,
doesn't
I know.
ever make me feel better. You're always like, the shittier one is older. It's like, okay.
No, but Dr. Fate's cool. Dr. Fate, like I said, like it's a helmet that goes from person to person, and so you have like Doctor Strange is Doctor Strange. He's always Doctor Strange, but Dr. Fate goes from like person to person. At one point, there was like a girl and a boy who shared Dr. Fate helmets. So like,
Yeah.
you get a wide range of personalities that can be Dr.
Basically,
Fate.
Dr. Fate is this like ancient like. I think he's
Shazam-like power.
No, but what he is he's like this ancient spirit of order and chaos that like takes like
A host.
he takes a host. That's the word I'm looking for. Yes. So when they go to like tap Tim on the shoulder, he just instantly turns into water.
Yeah.
And Detective Chimp is like, is anybody else's nose twitching? There's a mystery.
Nose twitch.
Detective Chimp.
Yeah. So now the part of the mystery is like now this Dr. Fate host turned to water. Who's the next Dr. Fate host? That's gonna be.
Yeah.
I was reading this. I didn't even know if I was supposed to be like, it's a huge thing that the current Doctor Fate had died or anything.
I'm assuming this is nobody because these are all new characters.
Yeah, I think it's mostly new characters, and I don't remember what Dr. Fate's status quo was at this time, but it's basically just like introducing that like we're getting into a little bit of the magic stuff
Yeah.
here. Then it cuts back to Kahndaq, where Black Adam and Isis are trying to give these medals.
Medals to Question and
Renee.
Renee. Big problem is Renee's not there.
Yeah, so it's these medals for like thank you for saving other people.
Black Adam's pissed because he's like, how fucking dare you? I'm like the god of this country and you don't show up for
Yeah.
the ceremony?
I really like, just before they end up going, the question's basically saying, like, she was very disheartened because she had to shoot the girl, and the Black Adam's just like, she had no choice. The girl had a bomb, and it still shows you that he still has that streak in him where it's like, right is right, wrong is wrong. It doesn't matter who's involved.
Yeah,
And Vic's like, she's coping in her usual way, and Black Adam bursts through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man, and he's like, what the hell do you think you're doing? And Renee is wasted in bed with just some lady.
Yeah, some lady.
And she's like, yo, what do you want? Get out of here.
Yeah, she's yelling at them as she's dressing.
And she tries to the question is there too. What is a man for you, Charlie? Every time I'm gonna get something, you have to crash the party.
Yeah, and Black Adam's like, there's a time when I would have cheerfully killed you for speaking to me that way. But, you were supposed to get a great honor. And she's like, get that medal out of my face. And Black Adam grabs her by the throat. And he's like, you pushed too far, woman. I'm a changed man, but not that changed. And she just starts crying. And she's like, that's right. Just do it.
But she's
Just
got like a
kill me."
grimace on her face. She's like, just do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Isis
And
is like,
Isis stops
hey,
her.
Let's not do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This helps not
Isis
me.
stops him.
Honey, don't break her neck.
Her grief and your anger are both misplaced.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Vic's like, this isn't the real problem. The bomb and everything, hanging out medals, all that stuff is like details. The problem is Intergang. On top of everything else, we got these monster men, these wolf men, all this stuff. They're weapons, they're using kids, and Black Adam's like, fine, if it's a problem, let's stop it. And then the mystery team, led by Detective Chimp, it cuts to France, where they are meeting with Ralph Dibny. And there's some, like, how'd you find me? And he's like, well, obviously, it's, these code names from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And, like, kind of like detective, masturbatory stuff.
Yeah. It's like you want it to be found with that pseudonym.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Detective Chimp brings him in like this like magic case, the Dr. Fate helmet, and he's like, you gotta help us, we gotta get the old Shadow Pack team. That's like the magic mystery team.
And Ralph Dibny mentions that a few weeks ago, because the last we left him, he was under bridge rocking the husk of his effigy wife. And he says, a few weeks ago I had a little breakdown, got myself some help pulling myself together, came here to reconnect.
And Detective Chimp has a great joke. Help, huh? Blonde or redhead? And I'm like, you're a fucking monkey.
Yeah. And one thing I want to point out that is a nice touch is if you notice, from now until the end of the book, Ralph is wearing a wicker wedding band that's made out of the straw that was his
Also,
wife's
we know that
effigy.
Detective Chimp is part of the Republican Party, he says here.
Yeah.
I don't know. We never said this on air, so I might as well say it now. They had a comic in like 2008 where they established most DC heroes are Republican, even Wonder Woman.
I mean, I think that makes
So,
sense.
I need to say something. I was looking forward to 4 storylines. One of them was Ralph Dibny trying to find out what happened to his wife and whether or not she'd be resurrected. And when all this stuff happened, this is when I immediately dropped him. It's not just because it gets into magic and starts getting like really weird and you kind of just have to go along for the ride with it. But last we left him, he was like traumatized by what had happened, and it was almost as though he lost his mind. And from here, it's almost like none of that happened or mattered. And I really, really hate how quickly like characters just kind of push through.
It's because people in comics generally don't experience like long-term trauma. Like they get over it within an issue.
I mean, I still hate it.
It does matter.
I will just say we are only halfway through.
Yeah, it does matter what happened.
But his mental state right now seems like, I think what Daryl's saying is like, I still like the Ralph Dibny stuff continuing on, but he doesn't seem like a guy who was just
you didn't get
rocking.
The impression that he's a little unhinged at all during these stories.
No, because
I disagree. I disagree. Even based on this, I got the sense that he was a little like he doesn't go into how he recovered. He just says drop it as soon as the guy asks him.
He's also staying in all of their favorite places together. Like he the reason why he's in France is because this is one of his wife's favorite places to be. That's why he says like I miss her. That's why Marseille. And like he does. His whole quest about his wife does not end, and it still comes up in this volume.
But to me, that stuff happens without the resurrection scene.
I disagree. I think the resurrection
scene
he
still misses her, and he still like longs for her.
I think it's a matter of opinion, but I completely disagree.
I think we should wait until we see Ralph's story resolved.
Which again is the issue when you're reading through something, piecemeal at a time. Is this is where I'm at, or I'm like it didn't matter, and I hate that scene because it left a very big impact on me, and I felt like it didn't leave a big impact on Ralph.
I don't want to say it's an issue because I do think that part of the reason why we didn't want you to read the whole book is because I wanted to hear these impressions halfway through.
Yeah, you fucked up,
I mean?
Daryl. You fucked with everything. If you're
No, I'm saying like this is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
If we did the whole book at once, we wouldn't get this like, hey, what happened to that plot? You know, like because we're jumping. Even though this is 5 weeks since that last time we saw him, it's still like that's not enough time to get over that. You know, so I think that's fair.
Yeah, it's very fair.
So now we cut to in Cincinnati where it is Booster Gold's funeral,
and his poor casket is all like Soda Cola mourns your passing. Farewell from your friends at Pep Cereal. It's all
yeah, and there's all these like nobody's carrying
all
it.
these superheroes are just like no one you've never ever heard of or anything.
They
It's
just
and
they were
Clark-
on like Craigslist for heroes, which is
And they only came to get a gig out of the matter.
Yeah.
The only character of here that I recognize is this British guy is from the Justice League International. He's like just some goof character that Booster was like, get a load of this fucking English asshole.
Hey, he was a time traveler, remember? It won't be born for 500 years, governor. Oi.
Yeah.
Oi.
And then they fly away on one of the fat guys in the team. He's like just inflates or something.
So Clark Kent's like, it took 3 weeks to arrange this funeral, and Skeets is like, I had to find a city that didn't hate Booster Gold.
Yeah.
And he's like, Skeets, but he's never even been to Cincinnati. And he's like, yeah, I know, that's why they took him.
Yeah.
And he says,
so
says
sad.
this. Clark Kent says this isn't right. Booster didn't die in disgrace. He was off in his game near the end. But this world is too quick to forget the good some men do, which is
Yeah.
that was nice line.
And then I like especially that he says, I'll write this up for the Daily Planet and hope Harry doesn't bury it under the folder behind a hyperlink. That Clark himself, like, this is a cool thing for Superman to do where he's like, I'm just going to write an article about Booster Gold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't
That's
imagine a world where this kind of stuff was happening all the time. Like, what makes headlines? Like, like it's you know how people were talking about like when Trump got elected, how much desensitization happens when it's like scandal after scandal, where it's like it reminds me like how would people would just forget about
Yeah, if a no-name
heroics.
superhero died or something.
Yeah.
And if like constantly there's just stuff happening like this.
Yeah. So now Skeets finds this guy walking past named Daniel Carter, who is Booster's great-great-great-grandfather, because Booster's from the future. And he's like, well, I'll talk to you later. I'm going to come to your house. I've beamed a number to your cell phone. We have to talk about your future.
Skeet says
The guy's
that
like,
to this Booster guy who's wearing
Yeah.
a JLA shirt.
yeah. He's just
Which
like
is what
some
Booster
schmo.
wanted to get into.
He's got blonde hair, so he looks exactly like Animal Man and Adam Strange.
No, he looks exactly like Booster Gold.
Yeah, he does. But at least
He's
that
supposed
is,
to,
he's his
yeah.
ancestor. He's supposed to look
Yeah.
kind of like him.
I don't know. I don't look exactly like my grandfather.
If you guys were the
maybe
same
not.
age, you might look pretty similar.
Yeah. But it makes more sense than Animal Man and Adam Strange looking similar. So now it cuts to Egypt, where all the magic people are like, come on, Ralph. You know, they're talking about all this, like, it's supposed to kick off this age of magic and all this stuff. But so basically, like, they're saying, like, Ralph, you're usually more of, like, a detective guy. This magic stuff's not too weird for you. And he's like, desperate times, old friend. And they're like, what do you mean desperate? And then all of a sudden, the helmet, the Dr. Fate helmet, starts, like,
He
talking
kind of
to
just says,
Ralph.
"What do you mean desperate? You didn't say anything about desperate Ralph." And then the helmet starts talking.
And then
to
it's
him.
like, Ralph. And it cuts to inside the Dr. Fate helmet, where there's, like, all this crazy stuff about magic and...
I was reading this one night, like, and falling asleep while reading this particular issue, and I like woke up the next morning and I was like, "What did I read? Like, what was this?" It's cool. Going back, I'm like, it is cool, but it's like it's very trippy, surreal, like magic stuff.
Nothing is
Yeah.
as it was before. The forces of magic in this new era obey new laws, new axioms.
Because they say basically that there's ages of magic, right? And this helmet was supposed to bring in the 10th age of magic, and the helmet is telling Ralph that in this new age of magic, the number one rule that people have forgotten is that nothing comes without a price. And so I thought this was cool because I'm like, maybe magic won't just be magic; it'll be like
the law of equivalent exchange.
right, like that's cool magic. It's cool. It was a cool idea to me because they show all the sorcerer characters. I recognized 2 of them. And
So the guy who turned into water tried to get the power of Dr. Fate without using the rituals and the sacrifices, and he didn't learn anything, so he just put it on, and that's why he was turned into water. And the helmet's like, and thus the opportunity falls to you, Ralph Dibny. I can give you the answers you seek. I can guide you through a realm where the barriers of time and space may be breached, and your heart's desires can be yours for the asking. I am obliged, however, to warn you that the trials this journey requires will be beyond your imagining. Are you prepared to make every sacrifice I ask of you? And it shows a zoom in of Ralph's eye, and in it is his wife, Sue. And Ralph says, "I am." And the Detective Chimp is like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "You heard what it said, and I'm ready." And the helmet says, "Then our pilgrimage begins." And Blue Devil's like, "Yo, Dibney, wait." And
so these are all the magic users, and they say, "Okay, is it just me, or did he think that the helmet was talking to him?" And that's why this is the first hint.
He's not unhinged. There's magic in this world. Well,
I know the magic users didn't fucking hear
but
it.
apparently this helmet picks a person.
This is my opinion when I first read it, so this is not spoilers or anything. I immediately thought, is it magic or is Ralph just crazy? That's what I assume from this panel.
I understand why you. If this wasn't a huge DC event, that'd be like, oh, maybe this could be crazy or not. But like here, it's like magic exists for sure. All the magic users had something happen in Infinite Crisis.
I know, and they're all they know more about Ralph is not magic at all. The Fate only talked to Ralph, and they're all like, "What does he really think?" But
they
helmet
literally just were like, so it's gonna pick the helmet.
Wait, so you don't think that's even a question here?
I did not question it.
I questioned it as soon as I got to this panel.
I didn't question it because I don't know who Dr. Fate is, so I don't know if he only talks to one person at a time.
But I think I don't really know Dr. I only know Dr. Fate from the Justice League cartoon at this point, and I was like, is he magic or not?
Maybe it's just because like I know the magic characters, but I would trust the magic characters over the elongated man's view of magic. But I could
at the very least I wondered like what is going on where Dr. Fate's only talking to Ralph and no one else.
He's the new successor. He picked him.
I think that's fair to be like I can see your point, Sly. It does leave room open to it that Ralph is so unhinged that he is like following something that may not be real.
Okay.
For me, I was thinking just that if this new magic era is going to be all about sacrifice, we know he's the number one candidate willing to sacrifice everything for what he wants. It's like, why wouldn't Dr. Fate pick him for this mission, you know? But
all right, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
We will see.
I didn't fully remember.
Yeah.
I didn't fully remember this when I reread it. So this is not spoilers or anything.
Okay.
Yep.
Week 19.
Pope Lobo.
That's what the headline says. It says Pope Lobo at the bottom. What greatness.
And this is why because Daryl was like, "Oh, it's a fake out. The Booster Gold is back." And this is why I like what I did the covers, because the covers show Booster Gold in time and space, but they just set up that Skeets is going to Booster Gold's ancestor now. Mm-hmm. So now it's a question: is it Booster Gold or is it an ancestor? Was that a fake out or is Booster Gold really dead?
My biggest fear at this is that Skeets was going to go to the ancestor and he was going to make him Booster Gold. And I'm like, I don't want to see I want to see Booster Gold, the guy from the future that was a failure. I don't want to see a guy from my time that's a failure.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. But I like how they do the covers where they can have Booster Gold covers and have the question: what are they doing? It's not spoilers. Booster Gold's back from the dead.
Yeah,
it's the
and as I said last time, J.G. Jones does all the covers, and this still by episode 2 still has my favorite covers of any comic book ever.
So yeah, I agree with you, but I think that's a good way to settle a mystery whether Booster's coming back or not. So it opens, and you see Booster's ancestor is just like Booster. He was a washed-up jock who was dumb.
Yeah, he had like football games in high school that he was proud of, and that's the best he's ever gotten.
He got hurt once, and
he's no good with his money.
Yeah, he's the 5th best term life salesman at Evergreen Insurance out of 6.
Yeah, 5th out of 6, and Skeets is like telling him like, why don't you come for me and I can make you a hero? And he's like, no, I'm going to go like Super and he'll make me a hero. He's like, I can guarantee make you a hero. He's like, trust me, I'm Skeets. I will make you into a hero.
And he says like, hey, me and Booster were like finding this atomic time safe thing, and it's coded to Booster's DNA, and you match it, so you could get in there, and
And the Booster's answer says, I'm being asked to trust my future to a flying toaster. That's a pretty huge gamble. And Skeet said, gambling runs in the Carter blood.
Yeah.
What if I could promise you to relive the moment of football glory over and over again for all time?
And so I'm glad I got to be the one to introduce this concept, because we come back to Starfire and that crew, and not only is Lobo a fucking pacifist now, he's leader of religion. He has a Pope hat on.
A fish religion.
Yeah.
Yeah. The triple fish god. He's Pope.
And this is what I want. If you're not gonna have a character-driven stuff, just have wacky dumb shit happen.
God, of all the fucking Grant Morrison books that I'm like, Sly, this is my favorite. This means the most to me. The one that you're like, yes, is fucking Pope Lobo. God damn it.
Pope Lobo, yeah.
I'm not a fan. You're right.
Yeah, so this is why I am a fan. I see this, I eat it up, and feel like fuck you. I will defend this to the end.
If this was not in a shared
A
universe,
fucking dolphin comes up to them saying, Lobo has requested to use Awake Invisible. A fucking dolphin asks him to go meet Lobo.
But this is in the same world with Intergang and the Chinese superheroes fighting over their borders, and it's like
that's why I love comics. It's like so dumb and so fucking pointless at the same time.
Oh my god.
So anyway, let's go into it. I think it's clear how we all feel about fucking space.
Yeah,
law.
so they're asking Pope Lobo with his Pope hat on, please help our people because they're on this like flying rock and like floating through space.
It's like a giant alien refugee camp, and
Yeah.
all these alien races are burning treasures of their civilizations to
Which
stay
again,
warm.
there's bits and pieces where you're like, this is interesting, and then they're doing this for Pope Lobo, so you're like, that's dumb.
And his like throne where he
It's so
sits.
politically pointing at refugees, right, guys? Talking
then-
to Pope Lobo. He's
then-
Donald Trump. Lobo's Donald Trump. He's like the dumb asshole you have to appease for help.
I can't. It's not.
And then there's like industrial metal music playing in his like chapel.
And he can't because they are asking, please use the eye. Please, President Trump, please use your presidential powers to save us. And the eye represents his voter base to turn against him. He's like, no, I
So
can't.
yeah, the reason why Lobo has all his powers because he has this like magic eye that we don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Literally, they're just like, I can't use the eye, and they're like, please use the eye. And
It's still fucking Lobo, even though he's a pacifist. He's like, you fragging idiots, I can't use the fucking eye, god damn it. Like, I can't use the fucking eye, like, that's it. No more eye talk. And everyone's getting pissed at him because he won't use the eye.
There's me, up to my nostrils in the steaming offal of one more contract hit, thinking, is this really the best use of your talents as a public speaker, Lobo?
And lo, a voice came forth as if out of the guts and giz, saying, "Follow the fish." And with that, the main man was redeemed. And he gives up swearing, violence, pleasures of the flesh, liquor.
Yeah.
It's awesome, yes. So,
It's awesome. Yes.
we come back to, what's happening?
Supernova.
We come to Supernova saving people. Weather Wizard is flooding a place with his weather magic powers. And
The weather
No, it's not magic,
wizard.
it's science.
Yeah, it's science. Yes, it's much like science as magic, basically.
Yeah, I know.
And so the Weather Wizard makes fucking magic weather happen. But Supergirl shows up and
Wonder Girl.
Wonder Girl. Sorry. That's confused Phil more because you got confused with Power Girl and Supergirl. He's out of character before.
Yeah.
No, I got confused between Power Girl and what Wonder Girl?
Yeah, you
I
got
don't
confused
know.
between those two.
I don't know.
Wonder Girl's always
So,
with
but
Power
Wonder
Girl.
Girl has been established in this book as the one trying to resurrect
Yes,
Superboy.
so this is Cassie, the girl that was specifically that Wonder Girl that tried to resurrect Superboy. So this is like her like showing that she's no longer like
Yeah, she's like, I'm no longer hanging out with those cultists, those Scientologists anymore.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not crazy. I'm not obsessed with Superboy anymore. And then Superboy.
as soon as she says that, she talks to Supernova saying, "Hey, you're Supernova," and she's like, "Hey, you look familiar." She's like, "Respect my personal space, please."
He
And
grabs her
away.
hand, he moves it away because she was going for his mask, and he moves her hand away.
And she says, "Take care." She says, "I will." Connell.
Which is Superboy's name.
Yeah.
So she thinks Superboy is Superboy.
And I was like, what? Like, is this Superboy? Because I didn't even think about Superboy coming back as a different...
that's
Mainly
part
because
of
I'm
the
like,
mystery.
yeah, the disintegrating ray, I'm like, there's no way a Superman... like, how did he get this power? I am legit interested in the Supernova mystery. It's just like, his thing isn't only about that. Like, the arc.
Yeah.
Like, he intersects with, like, a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So we cut to
Daniel
Back
is
to
wearing a
the-
Flash t-shirt
Back
now.
to
Wearing
the
a Flash
time
t-shirt?
vault.
I have to say, blonde Daniel with Booster's goggles only, he does kind of look like Animal Man.
exactly.
It's because of the blue, yeah, the blue.
It's
really.
so funny. Like this is the one story I focus. That's the funny thing is this is like we're gonna focus on the obscure characters. So we're focusing on all the blonde characters, which are all the obscure characters. So Daniel, so Skeet's like, I'm gonna let you into the place with my.
But he has to stay out front to hold the door open with
Skeet
his
says.
time.
So he's like, Daniel, go check out what's going on because he didn't get to see what Booster was looking at when Booster saw it's all his fault. It's all his fault.
Yeah, and now Daniel's going down with goggles that let Skeets know everything that he's like seeing.
And then Skeets is like, oh, he knows. And he turns out
Because he sees the shrine that's all the like pictures of Booster and Skeets, and it's like, it's all his fault. It's all his fault.
And it says
Yeah, so
time
he-
is broken. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
The stuff we saw.
So he disconnects from the machine and traps Daniel into the place. And all of a sudden, like a black hole appears and starts sucking.
Yeah,
Daniel
because
into
it says red alert. Lab entrance has been tampered with. Time loop vortex defense is activated. And he starts running. He's like, Skeets, help! Get me out of here! Something's pulling at me. And Skeets is like,
And he's like, you promised me a chance to leave my moment. Daniel, over and over again for all eternity. I'm sorry I had to be this way, Daniel. I truly am. And Daniel gets stuck into this black hole. And Skeet says, but you served your purpose. He knows. Dun dun dun.
Yeah, and then you're like, what happened?
I thought Skeets was a nice guy, but
Skeets not a nice guy.
he's a murderer. And
Skeet's a villain?
it's not just murdering. This guy, I think this defense system just, you get stuck in a time loop forever.
Yeah,
Which
Yeah.
is just awful.
Which is sent to hell, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
literal hell. Yeah.
So week 20.
All right. Week 20 has a cover of the space stuff. Looks like a space adventure going on with Adam
A giant
Strange.
eye behind him.
Yep.
What is this eye?
And apparently in Gotham, they found a bunch of Batman villains like Calendar Man tied up on top of the police station. Like, has Batman returned?
Yeah, it's clear Batwoman. But the person down here looking through Wayne Manor isn't Batman or Batwoman, it's Supernova.
He sees the Robin costume. He finds the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, it looks like the Infinity Gauntlet. I forget what this is. So
I think it's just part of Lex Luthor's like power suit, but
The Infinity Gauntlet.
It's the Infinity Gauntlet.
it looks like the Infinity Gauntlet. It has like a fucking
No, it
glove.
is.
Oh,
It
this
is.
is the
It is.
glove.
There's 5
with gems inside
spots.
of it.
Yeah, there's 5 spots in the same exact spots.
Phil, Infinity Gauntlet. This came first before the Infinity Gauntlet.
Louis Dolores, I respect your elders. Phil.
Back in Metropolis, we have a fire in a building, and John Henry Irons is in there holding up the building to make sure everyone escapes.
You got this nice. It really shows you like how heroic John Henry Irons is.
He's my favorite
And then the
character
people
in
are
the
like,
story.
the firemen are like, we'll have the hoses ready for you when you come out. He's like, oh, I appreciate that, as he's holding up the beam.
He's my favorite character in this. He was one of my favorites in Death and Return of
cool. He's
Superman.
very
He's
cool.
really cool.
that's so neat because like I like John Henry Irons' plot, but I never like think of it as one of the big tent poles of 52.
Yeah, I
That's
remember.
super
I remember
cool.
when I first read this. Ryan said like Steel's not one of his favorite characters, and I was like, I love Steel. Like I was on Steel.
I like. Okay,
Steel
Yeah,
obviously,
I like
as
it,
a Colossus
but, like,
fan,
it's so cool that how unexpected that feels like this is my stand.
it's because he's a metal man, which I always like, and he has the family stuff, which I like. He's down to earth.
He's also about justice.
Yeah, he's like, this is the right thing. All right, back in Pope Lobo in space.
My favorite
Oh,
plot.
and now the only other thing that happens in the John Henry scene is now it's on the
yeah.
news. It is public that Lex Luthor could take away the genes as quickly as he can.
Is it
Yeah.
public, or is that
Give-
the doctor knows?
Oh no,
It's
it's
Not
says-
public.
Oh no, okay, I misread it. He was like, "How'd you know I was here at this building?" And she said, "It was on the news." But it doesn't matter.
This
I now have
morning.
official data that says this.
Yep,
Yes.
that he can take. He gives you powers. He can take it away. Back to this refugee camp with Pope Lobo. He's like, let's sing a hymn.
But everyone's like, "Fuck you! Make the eye do shit, or else we're gonna fucking
And
overthrow
he's
you."
just sitting there shaking his fist.
He's like,
"Give me
okay.
strength."
The Pope is basically saying, I'm gonna leave with these 3 strangers. You guys will send help later for the rest of the refugees. Bye. And they're all
Yeah.
screaming. They're like, please help. And then the dolphin is like, please use the eye.
Fishy, you know I can, and you know why.
I love Daryl's Lobo so
Me
much.
too.
And then
There's a bunch of
swarm of alien bugs that fly
Yeah, it looks like
through space and just start eating everyone. It's like tornadoes.
Tornadoes of
Yeah,
bugs.
just tell the carrion to call it. They feed off dead and dying plants.
Yeah, and he says Lobo says the fish god moves in mysterious ways. Animal Man tries to use his
Animal
He's like
senses.
breathing.
So he can borrow the abilities of
Nearby animals.
Nearby,
And here
yeah.
in space,
Which is why I think Morrison had him here. Why Morrison wanted to do this probably plan in the first place? Because Owlman does all these weird powers. Like he's like, I'm gonna use my fireballs. He starts shooting fireballs out of his mouth.
yeah, because like some of these space parasites,
Which
shoot
is
fireballs.
another thing why I really like Animal Man is that's a unique power. It's not that it's like, well, I just run really fast like a gazelle.
Or like
a-
Starfire here, who's just
Shoot
beams.
laser beams. Yeah, Animal Man's like, I need an animal nearby, and then I emulate what they do best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so they're shooting beams at these swarms of.
and Lobo gets torn to shreds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's swearing. He's breaking his own fish
but he's
god.
supposed to be a carry
He's
on.
holding the treasure chest with the eye in it, and when he gets torn to shreds, he drops it, and the eye rolls away, and some little guy, some like little bald alien man, picks it up.
By the way, when we say he starts to shreds, like I was only it's like foot is left, like, but it's because he has healing factor of like 1,000,000. Doesn't matter,
Yeah.
but it's just like
If he has a
cartoony
single
the
drop
way he
of
gets
blood, he can
ripped up.
fully bring himself back.
Otto, lop lop, and then he holds up the eye. This alien, or she, yes.
Because they hold up the eye, and then it blows up everyone and the ground around them, and then another alien goes, "Mama!"
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, then Adam Strange flies. There's so many fucking lasers in this goddamn story. In all of 52.
It's a space story. How does
No,
that
no, there's lasers
fantastic?
in all of 52. Everyone shoots lasers, and
I love that every time a new character's introduced, I'm like, there's so many goddamn characters lit for Phil.
The only 2 lasers are Starfire's beams
And
then Adam
and
Strange's
fucking
ship.
Adam Strange's ship, which should have lasers. The ship
sorry,
should have lasers.
everyone shoots beams though.
No, just those 2.
Yeah, but I mentioned fireballs. That's not a beam.
Okay. All right. And
You'll find more
anyway,
beams. to
so
complain
they
about.
shoot beams at these swarms of bugs because that works, I guess. And then they hold up the eye, or Starfire holds up the eye, and we see like the glow of the green glow because it's the emerald eye of whatever they said.
Ekron.
Yep. And then we see like the planet they're on glow green, and then in the distance is the green speck, and then we see this big head with mechanical spider legs.
It looks like a devil's head merged with like mechanical spider legs.
It looks kind of like Death's Head.
It does look
But
Death's
it's got
Head.
like a green dome on its head, and it looks like there's a guy sitting in a chair in it.
Yeah, it's a ship that was made out of somebody's head.
Oh.
And then one eye is missing, and he says something in alien.
Yeah, and then you're like,
And
And
then-
later on, there's just minor. Later on, they do. Lobo says, "You fucking idiots! That's that guy's eye. We saw his eye. and I was trying to hide it from that guy."
That's Ekron, you asshole.
yeah.
And so right.
Lobo comes back. He's naked. People are like, no one wants to see that.
He sings. The ship sings. His
Yeah,
bike.
a word bubble covers his naked body.
I really like when word bubbles cover like nudity. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's so funny to me.
Yeah, and then so he sings for his bike. His bike sings back and shows up, and the dolphin is like, "Remember your vow. I will tread the
Yeah.
triple fold path of peace." And he's like, vows. This is what
But
happened.
he basically says that guy Ekron is coming to destroy this whole camp. We got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
He'll tear the cosmos apart to get it back. And so they get on the bike and the ship, and they're like,
God, this really was just like all Lobo, other than
Get outta
John
here.
Henry Irons.
Yeah.
What are you
Well,
doing?
that's what the covers always tell you what you're in for.
What are you
so
doing,
it's all-
52? Stop!
That's what I like. I do like the covers tell you like which is the focus. Like,
Focus,
Yeah.
but usually it jumps around a lot. Like at the beginning issues, it was jumping between like almost every main character, whereas here,
but
this
I
was
think it was
just
more
like
to establish-
Irons and then just this.
Well, I also like I like that there's like because the plots are actually paced. So like sometimes there's a week where something doesn't happen
Yeah, and you don't
to
yeah,
go back
you
to
know
them.
Ralph Dibny or whatever.
Yeah, like Ralph was one reason why Ralph didn't show up is because he was just recovering from what happened to him. So he's been gone for months at this point.
Yeah. So week 21.
Week 21, issue 21. It opens with Natasha going and she's talking to Lex Luthor in his office. And she's being like, Eliza's been off the sharp. She's been clean.
she's the speedster on the team.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she's been clean for weeks. It's like, she didn't mean to insult you. She's sticking up. It's like, please have her join the team. Lex is like, So then she goes back, and Eliza's running around congratulating Natasha back at like her like dorm room.
Oh, this is actual footage of me in college talking to Phil about how much I fucking love the Flash.
I was gonna say this made me, I like this touch because it shows like she's a fanboy and she loves the Flash. She's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be up in the ranks. I'm gonna be up there with Kid Flash. Everyone's gonna think I'm the new Kid Flash. I'm gonna be great.
The reason why she's on Luthor's team is because she wants to like prove to the Teen Titans that she can cut it as their new Kid Flash.
Yeah, Natasha's like, Titans aren't all that, because she got over that. But it's neat to have the speedster be like, I want to be.
She's
like
wearing a
this
Flash T-shirt. There's Flash stuffed animal. There's Flash posters on her wall. She is like a.
She's a little much, but
Yeah, she's a Flash fangirl, 100%.
Yep. And then we cut to Adam.
We got to
Ralph
we get to
Dibny.
Ralph Dibny. Ralph Dibny. Now Ralph is doing the weird space shit where he's talking to a fucking defender of like a sacred gate with the.
It's
It's
like
in
an
hell.
Aztecian gate. He's defending the Aztec afterlife, Mictlin, and he's like,
It looks like they're in space. It looks like they're in space.
yeah, and it's like, I want to get in. I wrapped you up, like he's all wrapped up, and he's like, the mask knocked you out, but I gave you Jin Gold so that you're all wrapped up. And do you know what happens when like Jin Gold wears off? All your bones start breaking slowly, one at a time. So he's like, let me through
Yeah.
the gate, and then he.
It's
opens-
like Adam being like, I'm gonna step on your brain to kill you, like
Yeah.
a Silver Age character taking a dark.
yeah, being dark with their.
You want to be elongated? I'll show you.
You think I'm a joke, Phil? I'm gonna elongate you.
So he,
See how you
he
like it.
kicks him into like the pit, and then they go down into the afterlife. And then it cuts back to Lex, and they're chasing after who is this?
The Hulk.
The new
Blockbuster.
blockbuster.
Hey,
What's
We
this
were
the
saying,
Hulk?
me and Daryl were saying the other day how when he brought up the Dr. Fate thing, we were like, there's an analog for every single Marvel DC hero that is the other version.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, the Hulk is already a rip-off of an existing DC character too, but here's another rip-off of rip-off the Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Well, it was great too because we couldn't find out who the Hulk analog was, and here comes Sly, and he's like, actually, the Hulk is a rip-off of it.
So the main thing is Blockbuster's just this big guy that throws stuff, and Lex just exposits that they just spent a bunch of money to buy the trademark for an actual DC team of like old like Golden Agey characters. So they're now officially Infinity Inc.
Yeah. And just this is important for like a team. I don't know. It's something I didn't expect Daryl and Phil to catch on.
Yeah, it's a meta thing.
So Infinity Inc. are like the Teen Titans to the Golden Age heroes. They are the spin-offs of the Golden Age heroes, like the Justice Society. Like the guy, the Green Lantern, that showed up before the original Green Lantern. The daughter that died was a member of the original Infinity Inc.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's like Earth 2's Teen Titans were
Yes, basically.
Infinity.
Yeah.
Got
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
I don't know who the Justice Society is, so I'm like,
Yeah, that was the Justice League of America.
The Teen Titans show up. Supposedly.
Yeah,
I mean, I could tell that.
Guys, I'm not a comic book amateur anymore.
The only thing that really matters here is that not only did they buy the team name, but now everyone on the team is named after one of those characters, and a lot of those characters are dead. So he basically Lex bought the names for dead heroes and was like, "That's us now."
That's a cool touch,
didn't
and
know.
they all have different costumes too, which is a really nice touch. Because I was like, their
Yeah.
old costumes are dumb.
And
but-
basically, as they're doing this fight, like Lex is in like a control room, like overseeing. He's like, "This is our first big scrap. This is gonna be on TV, so we got to make sure this goes well."
yeah.
So they beat up the blockbuster, and this is why I'm saying it ties in because Beast Boy shows up with his own version of Teen Titans. Because right now, Nightwing is with Batman, Starfire's in space, like the iconic Teen Titans members are all gone. So it's just Beast Boy and Raven and a bunch of new guys. Like no one.
Yeah, a bunch of new totally
Big
like
Barda,
just like
Zatana's like brother, some guy
yeah,
from.
it's intentionally supposed to be a bunch of like watered down versions of other heroes.
Yeah,
like,
these are not like important characters. These are all like knockoffs. of
Okay,
these
it's
characters.
always hard to tell because I'd be like, this
yeah.
character's dumb, and so I was like, how dare you?
That's
Barda.
That's why I was gonna say I was gonna hate this because these characters are supposed to be like, who are these people? But you're gonna say like, am I supposed to know these characters? Fuck this book. This book
Yeah,
sucks.
I'm always who are
It's
these
because half the
people?
time you are supposed to know who Little Barda is.
No, but like my when I get mad, it's because I get
Or
mad when
Dr.
I'm like,
Fate.
I feel like they introduced them well enough, so if you're a new reader, you could be like,
Yeah.
okay, and move on. But you're like, I have to know them completely, like inside and out, or else fuck this book.
I feel like the majority of characters that are introduced in this book that you have to know, somebody exposits about who they are.
It's just one of those things where I don't know if I'm supposed to know nuance between characters or relationships or stuff like
That's
that.
fair.
A lot of times I have to look up whether a character exists or not, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know this character existed. That's cool. I didn't know he
Yeah.
was an existing character.
don't
Or I
wanna-
didn't know he was an existing character. I like that they establish their history very quickly or easily without knowing either or.
But anyway, the main crux of this scene is that Beast Boy.
I think before even the Teen Titans show up, one interesting a key for what's going to happen is that Lex, as they're fighting Blockbuster, Lex is in the control room and he says, "Amplify the key wave on Blockbuster 30% and lock interference telemetry on trajectory." And you're like, what is happening?
Trajectory.
Yeah, he's controlling
Yeah.
Blockbuster. So the Teen Titans argue for a little while, where Beast Boy's like, this is Lex Luthor, like he's obviously a bad guy, and she's like, no, he's giving everyone hero powers, like she's totally bought into it.
I love this interaction. This is one of my favorite parts of this arc of 52, actually.
Oh,
like,
wow.
this second
Wow.
thing. Because it's all these characters showing up that I assumed were, like, named characters, because they're all part of the Teen Titans now. And it's this great interaction between them being like, you're a nobody, you just got your powers because they're given to you. And then they yell at them, and it's like, you're a blood brat, you're, like, a legacy character, you get your powers, it just hands down from generation to generation.
Like Sasuke and Naruto, right, guys?
Yeah.
That's what we were all thinking.
And it's a really cool interaction because it's basically, this got me thinking about how Lex's team, even though they're supporting, like, they're behind Lex and stuff, they are superheroes. Even if these Teen Titans are like, you don't deserve this. It's like, well, who does deserve superpowers? Who does deserve to save people?
Yeah.
Like, they're all doing good things still.
And this shows Lex's rhetoric from the first arc, like, up front, right, directly, like, it's a natural extension of what he was saying earlier.
Yeah, Infinity Inc. And I think it's interesting. Infinity Inc. has a moral high ground. Teen Titans are like, you're not the real Infinity Inc. Like, you're stealing that name.
Yeah.
And they're like, are you really the real Teen Titans? Like, you only have two original members. Like, you're all-
Yeah.
And even then, they're not even original members. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, where's your Kid Flash? We have one. Where's yours?
Yeah.
Or Super Clone.
Yeah. So then, while they're fighting, Lex kicks Blockbuster up to full,
Yeah. So,
and he breaks out.
yeah, he breaks out and he goes, like, on a rampage. And as he jumps away, Eliza, the speedster girl that Lex was mad at and that she was all excited to join up again, she runs after them.
I love the way they show her speed because as Natasha goes, Eliza, wait, and then as she's zoomed past, and in the background, it's still
It's
Natasha
Natasha
going
looking at where Trajectory was, this girl.
Yeah.
like she's so fast.
Yeah, so she runs up.
And she wants to impress the Teen Titans. She's like, I'm going to be a star.
Yeah, and that's why I like it. It makes sense that she would go after them, after the Hulk dude. So she runs after them, and then you see Lex pressing the trajectory button, and then, or the person at the control panel pressing trajectory, then they press a button, and suddenly she loses all of her speed powers, and without any powers, the Hulk dude just smashes her and kills her instantly.
Yeah, you just
And Lex says, contact the first alternate in the female Caucasian candidates list. Infinity Inc. needs a new member.
And I love too that I said Caucasian candidates.
Yeah, because they have diversity, right? They're like, we have to have one of everything, and then
Yeah. And it cuts to her funeral in Manchester, Alabama.
And who gets to give the eulogy but our good friend Lex Luthor?
Yeah. Trajectory gave it to save the Teen Titans and her teammates.
Yeah.
her sacrifice will always be remembered. And by the way, so one of the members on Teen Titans is Hotspot, the guy that died in Here's a Crisis, the black guy.
I saw
I'm
that.
heating
Oh
up.
my god! I didn't notice that.
Yeah, they're not just nobodies. How dare you guys? This is Hotspot.
I'm heating up.
But I bring it up because Hotspot's like, I thought I could work on that team, but this team kind of sucks. I'm leaving the team. Beast Boy, and then
Oh my god.
then the Big Barda knockoff and Power Boy are like, yeah, this team sucks, bye. And then the knockoff Zatara is like,
Power Boy is.
It's because they're always like opposites. We need a Power Girl and a Power Boy. Sorry, go
But
ahead.
these are intentionally supposed to be like super washed up knockoff.
Yeah.
Like they're supposed to be
yeah.
nobodies.
And Zatara's like, I'm gonna go too, and Raven's like, please don't. And he's like, okay, for you, Raven. Garfield needs Beast Boy needs to support, like, please don't leave. So now they have 3 members on Teen Titans.
And then John Henry Irons is at the wedding. He's all steel again.
At a funeral, you mean?
The wedding
Very
of
different.
Eliza
Very
to death.
different. And he's like, Natasha, we need to talk. And she basically just like blows up on him. It's like, my friend died and you came to lecture me at a funeral? And she's like, just
leave me
get
alone.
out here. Yeah.
But Beast Boy's like, we know something's not right, Mr. Irons. How can the Titans help?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I have no idea what any of this is, so good luck. Someone explain this to me.
This is the Red Tornado. That's what I meant when it comes up
This
again.
is the
now,
Australia again. Yeah.
so now like a random mechanic is like, where's my mechanic? Why
Johnny
is he not doing his work?
Warawa, or whatever.
Yeah, but it turns out his mechanic is actually working on the Red Tornado new body for him using all random spare parts.
Yeah, and he looks like he's got like a big stereo on him. His legs are made out of wood, and like it's just like a very like Tony Stark built this in a cave.
I should have known with the yellow arrow on his head, because when I first saw this, I was wondering if this was someone trying to make Mercury Man from Intergang. That this is the mechanic that they hired to make the robots and stuff.
Yeah,
But
says
that's why
Australia.
comic characters have such distinctive. I think that's why it's a good thing comic characters have such distinctive like color palettes, like red and yellow. Because like you could tell, like in scenes like this, that it is Red Tornado because he has a yellow arrow on his fucking face.
Yeah,
like,
like that was my bad for missing that. Even though, like,
You're
again,
the one who always wants the pictures to tell the story, not the fucking text, Daryl.
Yeah.
Week 22 opens with Lex watching some footage of Supernova.
Apparently, Supernova
and-
sees the Lex satellites from hundreds of miles away all the time and just zaps them whenever he knows he's being watched.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
geez, this guy is.
Yeah, and
paranoid.
they're like, "This is the best we could have," but we finally have his name.
I
And it's
ran
one
the
of
scientist
those-
comes in like pitching his idea, like guys,
Yeah.
I figured it out, I got everything.
And he's like, "Good news, sir. Your son, because if you remember from Infinite Crisis, Lex Luthor's half of his DNA was used to clone
I
Superboy."
didn't remember that.
I did.
Well, yeah. Well, he's like, "Don't worry, your son didn't die. He must have used his telescopic vision to see the satellite." And Lex is like, "You're fired. He didn't have telescopic vision."
No,
you
what I like the
imbecile."
best is like he's like, oh yeah, you're right. He got my telescopic vision. He's like, yeah. You fucking idiot. Then he plays along with him, saying you fucking idiot afterwards, saying he doesn't have telescopic vision, you moron.
He's like, "You spent 3 weeks devoting an incalculable amount of LexCorp resources to retrieve the deluded mulings of a pathetic, lovesick teenage girl who misses her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Isn't that right, Supernova?" And Supernova's just standing outside
Watching.
taunting him. And yeah, he's floating outside the window, and Lex is like, "He thinks he can fool me, fool all of us. Who is he? Obviously." And he takes out a marker and draws on the window, and he's like, "He's obviously Superman." And he's like, there could be only one reason. He's in this costume just to mess with me. And the scientists are like, "Geez, it really is all about you, isn't
And
it?"
he's like, I want to do the metagene tests on someone else. Me.
But I like this touch because first of all, we like as readers we assume that it can't be Superman because Clark Kent's around.
Yeah.
yeah.
But this is something that Superman does all the time. He like floats around like Superman's base, like mocking.
Yeah, he's like,
basically.
"Fuck you."
Like fuck you. And it's like, so this is very Superman behavior. Like I wouldn't blame Lex Luthor for believing this. Like he doesn't know Lex Luthor's Clark Kent. I mean, Lex Luthor's Clark Kent. Superman's Clark Kent. He doesn't know who he is, really.
And then it cuts to a new character who, full transparency, I do not remember him or how he factors into this plot at all.
That's why I find this awesome.
That is
'cause,
spoilers,
like,
because now I'm like, this guy's not important. You know?
He might be. It has been like several years since I read
But
this.
that's why I love this because you don't know. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know if there's another new plot line being introduced. I thought this was brilliant. And just even if, no matter how this goes, I think this is brilliant that they should introduce him because you don't know if it's important or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's this Native American man who's like really buff, and he's on the bus, and there's like this girl getting hit on by this super creepy guy. So this guy says, "Dude, she wants you to back off," and he's like, "What are you gonna do about it?" And what does he call him? Shitting
Yeah,
bull.
he calls him shitting bull.
And
Pretty
so
funny,
he just
but also really terrible.
Yeah.
And this guy deserves
Yeah.
to be thrown out of the bus.
yeah. So he gets thrown out of the bus, and then the lady's like, "Hey, wait up! You know, you
Wait,
stood-
first the police, after the bus stops. The police say, "You're lucky he was a rapist, or else you'd be in jail right now."
Yeah, I don't think that's how it works.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're allowed to throw rapists at a bus, and you don't get charged.
But so she's like, "Wait up," and he's like, "I only hit the guy because I haven't hit anybody in a long time. Go back to your dreams. You don't want to know me. I'm a loner, Dottie, a rebel, basically."
Yeah.
But she's like, "You seem like a nice guy, John Standing Bear. Don't you want to fly too?" He says, "I'd only fall. Watch yourself in the clouds."
I like the idea that random people on the bus speak in such poetry.
Yeah.
But she's like a nerdy girl. Like I think she's probably
Yeah.
like a literature. She's like a Phil, probably.
Fuck you. I'm a nerdy girl.
She's got glasses. That works for me.
And then it cuts back to Lex, where Lex is running more tests because it's revealed that he is negative for this gene therapy, and all he wants is to be Superman.
Yeah.
And then we get some more exposition with this John Standing Bear. He's coming home because it's his dad's funeral. And he's talking to his grandpa, and basically John like left the family after his mother died, and he was like, and the grandpa's just like, "You don't give a damn about your heritage and your obligations."
And John's like calls his grandpa like a fucking crazy old drunk. He's like, "What are you rambling, fucking crazy old man?"
He says they're two evil old men that shared an apartment, and that his grandpa will wind up back in jail where he belongs.
No, the grandpa's saying that to him.
Oh.
The Standing Bull was apparently in jail at some point, and if the cop said that earlier, like you wouldn't be saying he should deserve a medal if you've seen his service record.
Yeah.
So something happened with him.
Yeah. But then the grandpa reveals, and I really like this concept because the grandpa reveals that there's this Manitou stone that's passed from father to son that made them this like Native American superhero. And he
Super
says,
Chief.
yeah. And he was like, "I wouldn't give this to you, but like you're the only one and it only works on bloodline, so I guess I don't have a choice. Here you go." And I really like the idea of a legacy hero where it's like he has to because it won't work for anybody else.
And he says, "I'll give you this if you do something for me."
Yeah, and then he fucking kills him in his sleep.
He kills-
puts a pillow over his head and suffocates him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, to become the super chief, you have this big like helmet thing that has horns, and
Looks
it's
like a bull's
really,
head.
Yeah, it's like a bull's
Yeah.
head,
It
and you
gives
wear
him-
this
It's
necklace.
supposed to be like a buffalo, I think. And,
Yeah, buffalo. I think buffalo.
And it's like you run as fast as 1,000 deer. You're as strong
Yeah.
as 1,000 bears.
And I really like so much of it is based on Native American like iconography and the keen senses of the wolf nation, and like you can leap higher than the tallest trees in the forest. And I always really like when there's superheroes that aren't just like white guy does white power fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
And so this is why I say I like stuff a lot, because it makes you because like Grant Morrison does a lot where he has like a new, he takes like old obscure like kind of racist characters
Yeah.
and brings them into the modern age and tries to make them more respectful. So
Yeah.
like like this guy seems like very much to have like the afflictions of the modern like Native American with a lot of drug problems, a lot of so like it seems like it might be actually setting up a new Native American superhero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that he like the grandpa's like, "I need something in return," and it's like an assisted suicide, like it's immediately like much more interesting than the usual exposition dump new hero.
I also
thing.
got struck by lightning while standing near chemicals,
Yeah.
just like my
Yeah.
dad or uncle or whoever.
Yeah, much more interesting than that. So now it cuts back to Lex, and he's opening the Lex Luthor School of International Business Studies and Policy, or Trump University, and he's saying that they're talking about, he's talking to the media and some people, like some other rich people, about Infinity Inc. and how he says it's an equitable program where we let people pay within their means. So if a rich person wants to be a superhero, they got to pay like 30 grand.
30
but like
mil.
Eliza. Oh, 30 mil?
He's
yeah.
So Lex Luthor's a not capitalist, a capitalist hero. He gives
Yeah.
each coin to your need.
Yeah, and he's like, "Eliza came from an impoverished family, and we charge candidates according to their means. Her fee was entirely waived." And then this guy brushes in, he's like, "You're a liar. Unlimited power, yeah, for you. You screw the rest of us. It's about control. He gives you these powers, and he takes them away." And Lex obviously knows this guy. His name's Mr.
And
Ferry.
the whole time, Steel is in the background in a trench coat. You can
Yeah.
see his shiny skin.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, he should reveal when he takes off his hat, but you could tell it's steel.
How do people in the crowd not see this shining man?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the guy, Mr. Ferry, gets kicked out, and he's like, nobody believe me. And John Henry Irons is like, I believe you. It's time people started hearing the truth behind Lex Luthor's metagene therapy. So tell me your story, and I'll listen. I'll make sure the world listens too.
Yeah.
And then it cuts back to Magnus, who we haven't seen in quite a while. And
the doctor, the guy who created the Metalman.
Yeah,
yes, the guy who
Mercury's
created
working, but he's like only his torso in his head, so he's like stuck on this bed, cracking wise.
Yeah.
Why don't you reanimate Platinum right now? We'll go fight weird science monsters like we used to. The Metal Men all together again with you trying to tell us what to do.
And he says, I kind of like, it's funny because Dr. Magnus explained all this serious stuff. Like, I kind of had a mental breakdown, Mercury, for a while. Even though I even thought I was a machine, you're all my flesh and blood friends. And Mercury's like, me, flesh and blood, huh?
He says, "Excuse me while I simulate nausea, Doc."
Yeah, and now the evil versions of the robots show up because
what is I couldn't figure out what was happening here. So these robots
are the
evil versions of the Metal Men, and we don't know yet who is bringing them, right?
I assumed it was just evil robots that were impersonating the Metal Man.
Well, the thing is, he says that they want the secrets of robots with human emotions. They won't quit until I hand it over. So, like, when they show up, they can still animate them, but only as like remote controlled robots.
Yeah, they say re period this period tense period is not period. Like, it's very broken up.
Yeah, so they don't have independent thought like the Metal Men do. But it is then because he has like a super magnet that takes out iron, and he uses this corrosive acid that dissolves platinum.
And then Mercury's like, "I'll take him down."
And this is why I said it's me like the Metal Men, because Mercury's basically sacrificing himself.
It's really dark for like a torso.
I know that's why it's so heartbreaking, because it's so goofy, but he still like obviously cares for Dr.
Yeah, he jumps into to fight one of them, and then you see him being crushed into liquid, and he goes squeeze, quarks, 1-0-1-0.
Yeah.
And it's so effective for me because he's such a goofball, but he still care about the Doctor to die for him.
And then a Sentinel shows up and blows up his house.
Darryl, these came first. You fucking asshole.
Sorry.
So yeah, he goes outside and he's, oh dear God.
Came first, but whatever.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to be crazy again. And they're like, mad scientists only, Dr. Magnus, and they blow up his house.
Yeah.
And thus ends week 22.
Alright, so the cover is Adam.
Oh, I'm really glad Sly's doing this one too.
Let's say Adam Strange, Black Adam, holding the body of looks like a dead child, Egyptian child.
Mm. So I was like, oh, they found the brother. The brother's dead.
Yeah, that's what makes you think, at least. So,
spoilers.
The story opens up with Magnus being taken to a mad scientist island. Everyone's just a mad scientist.
He gets there in a giant mech.
A giant piloted Cricketron. He's like, "Help! My guy, Cricketron's
yeah, it's being piloted by a gorilla and an alligator man.
And then they have the set defense systems destroyed right away because, like expected, of course, a Cricketron would berserk, would destroy it.
Yeah, he's on Oolong Island.
After half the guards are like incinerated.
Yeah, it's like Dr. Venture type of shit.
So he's on Oolong Island and he's waiting. He's greeted by Professor Morrow with Margarita, and it's the island of Professor Morrow.
Yeah. So they have basically took all the mad scientists in one place and have them basically create whatever they can come up with. Like make your mad scientists.
They give them unlimited budget and they give them a lot of drugs, and they're like, just do whatever. And so they're just
they have hot women around everywhere too.
Yeah. So they just constantly make.
It's like the ultimate nerd fantasy.
Yeah.
So see. This to me, where it's like all these new characters, Matt Darrell hates it. I hate this so much.
It is the most
doesn't make sense. It's so goofy. It doesn't take itself seriously. How could this even work? Women are being used as trophies. And then there's a little headless Bart Simpson robot running around this.
But here's the thing. Women like villains would. Like that's the thing villains do. They use women as trophies. Like that's not
yeah, I know.
It's not endorsing it. It's not like the hero saying let's have them as trophies.
Know,
like,
but there's a lot of people that's like I just don't care for it. Seeing it in fiction.
Especially, I can definitely side with Darryl a little here, just because like Magnus is someone that I really bought into being like a good guy, and like Morrow, I understand why he would love this, but Magnus is like having Magnus not immediately be like this whole place is super fucked up. you know,
well, Magnus is like, this place. I don't want to do this. That's really spoilers because like next scene, he is like, I don't want to do this. Like, I want
Is
to.
this guy
Right,
real?
right.
Do you know this guy who says the tanner he is, the smarter he gets? Is he real? Is that a real power?
He probably is.
I think he's some Silver Age scientist.
he probably is. Like he's a.
Quimby, I think he made somebody. I don't know, but that sounds familiar.
Yeah, I feel like if there's one thing to trust in Morrison, it's that he will dig back and like look.
Yes.
For something.
So we cut to Yemen. Now they're using real locations.
So
I'm like,
now it's when the
whoa.
crime Bible comes in. Crime Bible comes in.
Crime Bible.
They worship Cain
And Moriarty
And-
from Sherlock Holmes? Is that what that is?
Yep, of course. Who's a better criminal than him?
And this is like a comic thing that Phil hates, but this is like something. I equate this more the crime Bible stuff more like D&D stuff because you have to. You're not exploring like good and evil as it is. You're exploring good and evil as would be in like a static black and white universe.
But
so
that's
D&D.
see, that's the issue though for me is like I understand what you're saying, but in D&D you have like evil races that are naturally evil worshiping these gods. Where
Yes.
here you have like New York City exists,
You have
but also
demons.
But they have pure evil characters in DC. Like there are people who I want to cause pain. Like, and that's what I view it as. It's an exploration of evil as a like a tangible concept because they have universes like we talked about Earth 3. In Earth 3, good can never win. It is established that good can never win in Earth 3. Just like on our Earth, good always wins. Good can never win in Earth 3.
but
like,
the crime Bible?
But it makes sense. Like if you have pure evil, what would they worship? Crime.
I don't know. We have a lot of people that like still worship the Nazis, so I don't know.
Like
it's
like
not-
I'm not like I agree with you that I'm not down for this stuff. I enjoy pure explorations of good and evil, but this is like a comic book exploration of good and
The
evil.
thing
Like
is,
how it will be
it-
in a Silver Age comic book universe.
Crime Bible isn't self-sustaining. Everything else is like we want us to be the ones to live. Like Nazism's like we want us to be the ones on top.
Fair,
Crime
fair,
Bible's
fair.
just like, what if we just all stole from each other? You're like, what?
Especially because
what?
a lot of
What?
bad people in real life are still motivated in their mind by what they think. This is
But
best for the
you're
world.
exploring how much it makes sense. Well, this is like
Yeah,
what it's a Silver Age view of evil. It's a Silver Age view of
how
evil.
much
These
this
guys are
makes-
trying to be Silver Age evil. What would a Silver Age villain worship? If
We're not-
we worship the
this is
devil,
not a
that's
Silver
too
Age
dark.
comic.
Well, but we are in a comic that references the Silver Age a lot, like with space adventures and
Okay.
stuff.
But not so
Yes.
much in the Renee Question story arc.
yeah, I
up
think
to
that
this
that's
point.
why this is especially like bizarre for
The conduct
because-
stuff had that interesting politics, and now it's like, but they're actually worshiping the crime Bible.
or that Black
I want
Adam
to say, I'm
is-
saying this. I'm saying this to somebody who agrees 100% with you. But this is Grant Morrison. This is why I shit on Grant Morrison all the time.
this
Even
is
though I love
more
him,
of a-
this is a Grant Morrison thing. He loves doing stuff like this. Silver Age.
The Crime Bible stuff is all Rucka.
But it's still like something like Grant Morrison. But Bobby's like, yes, he got hard off this shit. This is the type of shit he loves. Like his Earth 3 story was about
I
this
love
stuff.
the idea that Rucka goes from like, what if Maxwell Lord, what if you have to kill a villain to stop him from like killing another person, to like, what if the crime Bible, what if you worship Cain?
The reason why I think it's Rucka is because Rucka continues using the Crime Bible in another 2 arcs after 52. So like I'm pretty sure it's got to be him. But
Every like major DC writer does do this stuff. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
could be
that's true.
Morrison.
That's true.
Like Jeff Johns does this too. Like it's always like I agree with you, Phil. I'm just saying this as trying to defend this for people who do love this shit. Okay?
So anyway, let's
like,
get into
rate,
what it
and
actually is.
respond and let us know who the Crime Bible was made by.
It was made by Cain, wasn't it? I forget.
The first
No,
criminal.
because they have like multiple books in the crime Bible, and there's just like criminals throughout history. I guess like I just don't understand. Okay,
Anyway,
all right.
It's not meant to be realistic. It's meant to be comic book.
So Renee and the Question are watching this like ceremony where they're worshiping Cain
yeah.
and the Crime Bible.
And it's led by the Snake Woman.
yeah.
Yeah, and they're like torturing like slave boys.
It's basically you get brainwashed here, or you get beat into submission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they bring out Isis's brother, Aemon.
Yeah, so they're like, Amos here, we have to go jump in. Renee's like that, but the question's like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna fight all myself. You have to wait for Black Adam to come here. But it doesn't matter anyway, because then they alert a guard, and the guard starts fighting him. They throw him into the middle of the fray, of the ceremony. They basically would have happened if Question didn't stop in the first place, but thankfully Black Adam and Isis show up just in time to save them.
I love this tiger guy he has pants but no shirt. He gets on the headset and he's like, "We need support. Black Adam and Isis are here." And then there's a pig with a gun, also no shirt but has pants.
Oh yeah, and here's the reveal: Isis has healing powers, so she heals Renee's
Because she's like
wounds.
nature.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
she goes to her brother after they beat up all the villains and stuff, and she can't heal him because his wounds are too severe.
His nerve, because this isn't his first time being beaten, so they're like his nerves and or been twisted and beaten for
His
like
legs are broken.
Yeah, so he'll never
Yeah,
walk.
and I love that it starts raining inside because Isis.
Yeah, that's
crying.
a nice touch because Isis starts crying. It starts raining inside.
Yeah, 'cause I really like how she's like a nature goddess.
Yeah.
Probably, Storm is a ripoff of her, but
Anyway.
Black Adam says, like, yeah, you can't resurrect, you can't heal him, but we have a bond then. We're family, you and I, Isis. That makes him my brother. We have a bond now. You see my name, brother. Say it. And he says, Black Adam. And he turns into basically like a skinny Black Adam.
Freddy's like the Black Adam of Freddie Freeman.
just Shazam fucking everyone all the time. Hey, I like this girl. Shazam! Hey, this kid.
That's what makes Shazam beautiful, because he's so willing to give away his powers. He is so open to his friends. He wants his friends to be. If you have friends with you, I want you to be a hero too.
I
why
would
would
not
I
Shazam
want
you,
you to be a hero?
Sly.
Like it's a little kid, and like Black Adam is opening himself up too. He's giving it to
I
everyone
like
he
that
sees.
Black Adam's like, this is a reverse where now it's like Black Adam's learning to Shazam other people and give them powers. I'm like, this is actually like, it's really cool that he's opening up to it. Although my always fear is like, because comics, I'm like, eventually something's got to happen to his family. Or Flash runs so fast they disappear.
Well, Shazam has a family for decades, and no, never happened to them. Like Shazam's not his family.
But I'm saying the comic book, like the status quo has to be Black Adam's a bad guy. We read a Shazam book after this, where Black
that was
Adam's
after the
bad
reboot.
guy.
That was after the reboot. No, you have to remember that was after the reboot. That changed so many books, and like especially the Shazam family got completely revamped after reboot.
Okay, we'll see if he stays a
So
good guy then.
he takes the name Osiris.
Yep. I'm like, he definitely is from ancient Egypt, not fucking Kahndaq. They're all Egyptian.
Yeah, so you get straight from a namesake Amon. Yes, the stamina of Shu, the swiftness of Hera, the power of Atan.
Yeah, like all
And
the
then we
Shazam
get
letters.
a cute moment where they're all hugging and happy, and the questions just starts yelling, Black Adam, Shazam, Isis. And Renee's like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, I just want to see if it was
I thought that was funny too.
Yeah, I like him because he is like, he is a bit of a goofball, even though he has like no face. Like, you think he'd be like too serious, but he's actually just like kind of lighthearted.
That's what I love about Vic. Why I like him way better than Rorschach. Cause he has kind of like an aloofness about him. Like even when he's about to die, he's still like is like kind of like I'm not going to like sweat it. Kind of he's like because he's like a Zen Buddhist. So he's like, I'm not going to sweat if something happens. I'm just going to take it and ride it. Basically.
Yeah, it's nice.
And then they're like, we're a family now. Let's go to China.
Yeah.
Yes.
That ends the issue.
Yeah, because they're gonna change the world.
Opens up with the cover is like this poster. It's like, we want you for the new Justice League, and it's Firestorm. No, what's this guy?
You got it, Firestorm.
Firestorm. Bulleteer.
I
Whatever.
hate this.
Okay.
I hate all this.
So we're in Star City in week 24, and Green Arrow is running for mayor, and Firestorm calls and says, "Hey, Green Arrow, the Justice."
Mr. Arrow, sir, how are you?
And he's like, Daddy, Firestorm, kid, how'd you get this frequency? And he's like, oh, I'm Firestorm's successor. I got his communicator. He says, I want to invite you to join the new Justice League. And it's Firestorm, the Bulleteer. It's Ambush Bug. And
Ambush Bug.
Ryan loves Ambush Bug. Don't talk
my
trash
fucking
about it.
god.
So Ambush Bug is another Keith Giffen character that his whole thing is he's a satire that makes fun of comic books the whole time. That's his whole thing.
Wow.
He does not get featured here, but his books are absolutely hilarious.
Deadpool's a ripoff of Ambush Bug.
Is he?
Yeah, that is true.
Are you?
No, we're serious. Deadpool's a ripoff of Ambush Bug.
Oh my god.
Basically, somebody put Ambush Bug's personality and put him in Deathstroke's body, and there's Deadpool.
I can't do this. I can't. I'm quitting the podcast.
So they're
It's not important. The whole point, like, this is why that's why I get mad at you, because the whole point is these guys are here just to be failures. The whole point is they're nobodies and they're failures. We can't even handle that. Like, you can't even handle them using nobodies as failures for the sake of being nobodies as failures. I can't use anyone ever unless I know everything about them.
Here is why.
I would just like to. Sly's making a good point, but I also like to point out that Ambush Bug is eating chips, and that's Chip, the Squirrel Green Lantern, is on the bag.
Cool. Good. I need to say why I think
awesome.
I hate all comic events ever. Like as much as I've been enjoying 52 this whole time, but at the end of the day, I still hate it because I you know how I always complain and I'm like, why doesn't Superman show up when Daredevil, or obviously not Daredevil, but like
That's a great for that, Phil.
the shared universe stuff always bothers me, and when it's all done, when everyone is in one comic, and I'm like, how does this world exist without going crazy and tearing itself apart immediately? Like, what's going to happen soon is that a portal's going to open up over Manhattan, and pirates are gonna fall out of it. And I'm like, this world can't sustain itself. Like, if this happens every week, like this world is.
But it doesn't happen every week. That's why it's
it does every week.
Long
We're
periods
reading
where
a week
anything
by week
happens.
thing, and this shit happens. Like blockbusters.
But we have it week by week. There's not been world
Per month, there's been like a lot of Metropolis stuff that Superdome.
How does the city exist? How?
But sometimes Metropolis. That's why Metropolis has like Superman level heroes, because they usually clean up in a second. Like,
and also one of the things that I want to point out is all this shit that's going wrong in 52. The whole point of 52 is this is what the DC universe would be like if you all of a sudden took out the main characters.
exactly. Like Superman will solve so many problems without even trying. Like, you always bitch about Superman, but Superman keeps the world in order by himself, almost single-handedly.
Phil and I were talking about though was like the amount of property destruction damage and how difficult that would be to.
Or people's lives that you have to think at any moment a supervillain might pour out robots from the sky. You've seen this happen, presumably like every year of your life, right? And
somewhere around.
So that's why you have people like Maxwell Lord who are like, let's just kill everyone.
Yes, and that's why I'm like
shit.
that's the only way this world can sustain itself, right? Like it can't exist for 50 years, 60 years when this is happening. Like,
But that's why there's two views on it. This is why I bitched about modern DC for a long time. There's the ones that cater to you, where you're like, I want to take this realistically.
Yeah.
And the ones like me, who are like, I want to have fun with these characters. I just want to have a world where I have fun and escape from reality. The world's really shitty. I don't need a shitty, bleak world. I want to have Superman save people and just be like Superman save people. That's why I don't like when a lot of characters die in like a big event. I like Superman save people and it's a nice, fun filler event.
I can understand that, but that's what's weird about events to me is because they're like, no, look at how this would work if New York City had this, like it's like a realistic world, and I'm like, it's not though. This can't work. Ambush Bug can't fucking exist. Like he just can't. He can't. He would be shot by someone, or like he would have never.
That's why my favorite Spider-Man movie is Spider-Man Spider-Verse, because it's not trying to be realistic at all. It's trying to be super comic booky, and it's just a cartoon. I'd rather have that.
This is to go back to the very beginning of the episode. This is what makes the difference between fans and non-fans. Sly and I are like, this universe can exist. We can buy into this, and you guys like, no,
I can't buy it.
It's not that. Not just that you buy into it, it's that you're happy it being like this.
Exactly.
That there's no high stakes to pirates being warped in and attacking everyone. You're like, everyone is fine though after this, more or less. Well, not in this comic.
Yeah, that's the problem of introducing more realism into these stories, which is why this the Identity Crisis era I've always been iffy on, because it is more realistic, but it's also soul crushing in a lot of places.
Yeah, I like the soul crushing. Crush my soul more.
Yeah. So they're calling him and they're like, please come join the Justice League. Green Arrow.
Green Arrow.
Yeah, as I was really interrupting Phil before, sorry. I was just going to say, I love how Firestorm is like, please join us, and Green Arrow's like, please lose this number. Fuck
He
you.
not lose his number, but I'm gonna show up next week to confiscate your communicator because you're not in the Justice
Yeah,
League.
it's like you're not the real Justice League. Like, you guys are frauds.
I just want to say, Ambush Bug grabs the communicator and he says,
no MSG in my pizza.
No, he says, send up a plot and 3 pages of dialogue right away. The weekly grind's tearing me apart. And then he says 52. And this is where I've gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, 52 is just a meta reference to this event itself. So whenever people say 52, it's this event. They're just being like,
I wouldn't take Ambush Bug too serious.
Yeah, I wouldn't read too into.
Don't read the dialogue and take it seriously.
It's like Deadpool showing up and being like, oh, I don't know, it's the gauntlet.
When he was in the Doom Patrol, right, he got a call from the editor-in-chief saying your book's been canceled. You're dead now.
Wait, Ambush Bug was in Doom Patrol?
Yeah, written by Keith Giffen.
I quit the podcast too.
I'm okay with that.
All right, so Martian Manhunter is in the original Justice League headquarters.
Yeah, so we come from that goofy scene to Martian Manhunter.
And he's like, I'm sorry for your death. Not Booster Gold. We didn't believe Blue Beetle, and now you're dead too.
Yeah, the twist is, so we don't see what he's doing. We see him lasering eye something, and he's saying, I'm sorry, I wish we could have saved you, I wish we could have saved Ted. And it turns out he's making a memorial for not only Booster Gold, but every hero that existed. So
every hero
died,
right? In the...
No, yeah, every hero that died.
Wonder Woman's
And one of the things that they also point out is every time they're like, we're the Justice League, they're like, you're not the Justice League. And they're always like, where's Superman? Where's Wonder Woman? And then they're like, you can't have a Justice League without Martian Manhunter.
Yeah. And that's why I love, because it's funny because, what was it? The writer of Man of Steel, the movie, said Martian Man is a shit character, no one likes him. But if you're a real fan, you know there's no Justice League without Martian Manhunter. Like, he is the heart of the
He's
team.
also been infiltrating like the UN and the U.S. President's office.
The U.S. presidency, because he's basically, after Ted Cord, Blue Beetle had died, he was looking for a way to shut down Checkmate because it continued to persist after Maxwell Lord's death.
So he basically influenced the president to cancel
to shut down.
And he's like, Checkmate is paid for its crimes by being eradicated.
And I like
from
that.
this
I was
earth.
like, oh, that would be like a cool thing if you really regretted that you led to Ted Kord's death by not taking him seriously. That is a cool thing for him to do.
Then we have the Black Marvel family, as they're called, shows up in China, and they're like, "Hey, we're not doing that whole Axis against America thing anymore. You guys can keep doing it, but keep the treaty in place. Keep foreign metahuman activities out. But I'm not, going to be leading this thing anymore."
And China's like, you don't turn your back on China, friend.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're going to be in a re-education camp yourself soon. He doesn't say that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
And the mom's really childish. She's just like, this is boring. Let's go.
Yeah,
let's go
yesterday it
fight
was
some
fun. We
criminals."
dismantled the new Mr. Adam and his computer terrorists before they took over NORAD. I'm like, again, how does this world exist with NORAD's being fucking taken? Okay. Anyway,
That's what I
sorry,
like
I'm
about it
sorry.
because he's childish. He's like,
No,
Billy
I'm not
Baxter,
bitching
basically.
about him. I'm bitching that this is just
This
like a
event
regular
that this
occurrence
is
that
taking place.
NORAD. Oh, anyway. All right. Okay. So,
So this is when we cut to the Justice League doing some press interview, and that's when a portal opens up and a bunch of pirates come out.
yeah, a time portal opens up over New York City or Metropolis.
Metropolis. Metropolis.
No, there was some New York City attacks that happened in this book so far, and I'm like, really? Okay. Anyway, so they're fighting. Ambush Bug is poking the pirates in the eyes. Avast me poop deck, he says. And then
You're a pirate. My uncle's from Pittsburgh.
and then we have a bunch of other heroes show up, like Pole Dancer and
Dynamole, Crimson Ghost, Immortal Bald Man in armor,
And
and,
there's-
guess what? Fireface. It's another goddamn fire person.
I'm pretty sure that these are all like one-off. Let's throw
I
a
know
bunch of
they
shit
are,
together.
they are, but it's like these
Yeah.
could
Oh,
be.
but
real
by the way,
heroes.
Firestorm is not really fire. He's radiation.
Okay.
Does he use it differently than fire?
What?
Yeah, he's basically an alchemist. He can turn anything into anything.
Oh,
what?
okay, then that is different.
Okay.
Yeah. And Firebird is like a female fire.
I'm just
storm,
saying,
so
if,
neither of these are fire.
if I see Firestorm shoot fire rays, I'm gonna call bullshit on it.
Well, that's the thing.
He can
I
make
also
fire.
want
He can just
when I
also
was
do
gonna.
all this.
I was bitching there a little bit of how I'm like, how does this world exist? I also there's so many fights in this book where it's just like 1,000 heroes all brawling, and what ends up happening is everyone turns into like the same power level, where it's just like everyone can
Yeah.
take beams from other people's beams, but some people's.
Oh no, a lot of people are about to.
No,
I
yeah,
know.
that's what I'm saying. I'm here it's fine because it's supposed to be clusterfuck, and it handles it how clusterfuck will happen.
Here it's different.
Here's the one time where so this portal opens up, the pirates come out, then Skeets comes out of the portal,
You're like Skeets?
and
What?
he zaps Firestorm. Somehow he doesn't
Firestorm.
get-
He starts that Firestorm right in the fucking face.
Yeah.
And he starts killing everyone around
He starts
him.
killing everyone.
Yeah, he just starts zapping everyone. Bulleteer is just running around. She does.
And he says, like, I came to here because it's like a big calamity, but it turns out it's not big enough for him to show up. I gotta make it like a big enough death count so he shows up.
And then Super Chief shows up, and Skeets is like, "Up, Super Chief. He has his powers for 1 hour. Here's my appropriate countermeasure. I speed up time on him only." And he speeds up, and like 1,000 years later, just disintegrates.
Yep.
And that's why I say I like this plot, like as much as Daryl hates it. Because was Super Chief here just to show tease this new Justice League, or is he gonna have his own plot later on?
Because then he
Yeah,
gets warped.
Hey, for reference, I don't hate the Super Chief stuff because I think that is pretty neat because I didn't know who this guy was before.
No, but I mean like the Justice League stuff in general. Like this whole stuff was like, was Super Chief just for Justice League?
yeah,
He
I like
so
that
Super
tease.
Chief gets like blasted away with the
He
necklace.
goes to the afterlife.
Yeah, and he basically they're like he's asking the Manitou Spirit for help, and then someone's like the Manitou Spirit only answers the prayers of the living,
Only on-
and you're dead.
Yeah, and then he says, "No, why can't they do right?"
And he says, "What are you gonna have? Reward without ordeal? There is no free lunch. Magic never comes without a price.
Yeah.
Let that be a lesson to you, Mr. Dibney." And he hands off the Manitou Stone to Ralph Dibney,
then-
and this is new magic thing.
And then this is where I was like, I thought this was the Aztec afterlife, not the Native American one.
No, he's going to all the different.
that was
Aztecs
much
are
of
Native
what
Americans.
I know, I know they are, but I was trying to think. It's like
This is
he-
Iroquois, he says earlier. So it is weird that it's like
Yeah, they would be
Yeah.
different.
Well, he's been hopping from afterlife to afterlife.
But a lot of the stuff with Ralph Dibney is we don't see what Ralph Dibney's doing fully. We're jumping around with months between what Ralph is doing.
And then, unfortunately, in the news, it's like Metropolis Massacre. They're
new
like,
jail
we can't get rid of
expands into Shadow
Checkmate
Failure.
because obviously heroes are just going to destroy the world.
Yeah, and also the Justice League disbanded. Like this failure was so big that like they
Yeah.
Yep.
disbanded out of shame.
And Martian Manhunter's like, fuck, I thought I had Checkmate done.
Yeah,
and then
'cause-
we go back to Checkmate people, and they're like, hey,
This isn't Checkmate. This is Amanda Waller.
No, this is Suicide Squad. Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
Another team.
shit.
And they're basically getting a Suicide Squad together to go after Black Adam, and they're getting one of Black Adam's friend, Atom Smasher. I never know who he is. I always confuse him with the Golden Age Blue Beetle.
You know, when you guys originally said Black Adam, I thought it was Adam, like Atom Smasher, but
No.
Yeah, well, he does explain. She's like, you helped Adam liberate it 8 months ago after you stomped out their last dictator. You're the one who can go after him. So, like, she does exposit just enough that, like, he's part of the reason why Black Adam is ruling Kahndaq in the first.
I always think Atom Smasher looks like more like a hero than he does like a villain. I think that's my problem.
they're coming up with a new Suicide Squad, like you guys said, and one of them is a Nazi. He has a swastika, and one of them is this Clayface or Shitface?
Shitface is only Mark Millar.
I know.
I don't know. Oh, that's Shithead you're
there's
thinking
Bane.
of.
Yeah, yes.
I don't know who
Bane
that
will
is.
That's
stop
like
like
Clayface.
Adam.
Looks like Clayface.
All right, 2 issues left, everyone. Hang in there.
I can't.
Yes, we're almost there.
Issue
Oh,
25.
this
We
cover.
start with Kingpin.
Wait, say this cover first.
Oh, so this cover's really cute. It's
Oh, I
people
love this
trick or treating, and one's dressed up as Booster Gold, another is Steel, another as a girl dressing up as the Question.
People they're like 6.
yeah.
And the helmet is
Sorry, children are
face
people.
helmet.
They're not people.
Their trick or treat basket is a Dr. Hefe helmet.
Yeah, it's cute. It is cute. So we open with
It's Kingpin.
With Kingpin.
I know this guy probably came first, but it's Kingpin.
He's staring over the city.
Oh no, that is what's his name? I forget his name. What the fuck, sorry.
Bruno.
It says Bruno Mannheim.
Bruno
I don't know
Mannheim.
who that is.
He's leader of Intergang.
Yeah.
Oh,
and he's,
I-
basically like, every Caesar needs a Rome. I'm taking Gotham. And he's here
Wait,
with...
hold on. He tells about the crime Bible here.
Yeah.
He says basically this is the next step after free market capitalism. Crime Bible.
I love this.
This is why I likes it.
I liked it.
That's why I feel hates it because it's criticism of capitalism.
No, it's just fucking dumb. That's why I hate it.
So there's
Sure,
just a
sure.
guy here that's supposed to be here. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He just slams his head onto the crime
Wait, he
Bible.
says, "You swear to crime Bible, you die." Then he does, and he slams his head.
And he says,
Crime
"Is
Bible.
that
Yeah,
blood on
that's Phil and Sly, where Phil's like, "What the fuck is this?" And Sly slams his face into it.
Oh, you really capitalist Philly, really? Then he
Swear
slams-
to me.
And then he says, "Let's eat this guy we just killed." He says that. He
Yeah, so
literally
these
says
guys
that.
are
He
bad.
literally, they're so bad that it's like, what the hell?
He says building an empire is hungry work. I didn't know if he'd eat him.
What? Bring him down to the kitchens after they murdered him.
I thought it was dispose of. That makes sense.
And then he says, "Now eat, enjoy the meat. Gotham City belongs
And
to
it
me."
shows like a flashback of him just killing villains at like a Gotham City evil Super League meeting.
Yeah, he took over Gotham
didn't-
City and killed a bunch of
Kingpin again.
Yeah.
He killed Kite Man, I think it's Kite Man.
Yeah, it is Kite Man. R.I.P.
I don't understand. So Intergang, they say here, is crime's answer to Interpol. So they're like, well, there's international police. There has to be international gang, right? And I'm like, so Intergang's whole thing is just we want to do crime in the world everywhere?
Yeah.
You get money. There's no downside to doing crime. It's not like you're like, oh,
No downside.
you're doing a penalty to yourself. You're getting free money while you're doing
There's
it.
no downside
There's
to
no
doing
downside
crime.
to doing
In a
crime.
world with
You heard it here
superheroes that
When
beat the
Superman
shit out
exists,
of
there's
you.
no downside to
Not
doing crime.
anymore. That's why
But
this
yeah, they have like space, like advanced alien technology and shit like that. Like they are Superman's like competition. Like they
And
compete
they're all
with Superman.
fucking werewolves too. I just hate Intergang. I hate that they're the main villains of the story so far because I'm like, I don't find them interesting. I think they're really stupid, and they're like, they seem to be running. They're pulling the strings of every plot line. It's like, ooh, werewolves.
There's Jack Kirby concept, by the way. I think you just hate Jack
I
Kirby.
might hate it.
Yeah, and the cannibal Kingpin is their leader. Anyway,
Okay, so let's cut to something more grounded, where there's a giant demon destroying a street.
in Halloween,
A sheet of sugar sweeter is Halloween.
And of course, they're like,
Yeah.
of course, it's Halloween. Extra dimensional beings always coming on into our plate in Halloween. I'm
yeah,
like,
the plane's weaker. I could buy that with magic in this world and stuff. And then it's the regular Shazam family. Freddy and Mary are fighting them. And then who flies in but the black Shazam family come in and they beat up this demon. All the kids see this happen and they see them do this and then they want to start wearing like their
they're like, I want to be ISIS, no me.
They're dressed as one kid dressed as regular Shazam. He's like, I want to be Black Adam. But girls dressed as Wonder Woman. Oh, I have to be ISIS. And Supergirl's like, no, I get to be ISIS. And ISIS is like, eat some apples. They're nature's toothbrush. And one kid's like, nature's toothbrush. And it's funny, like, Wonder Woman's out of the picture now. Now it's all about ISIS. And everything ISIS says, like, what's cool. And now you eat apples because she's cool.
Yeah. So, and then
Ralph Dibny's in hell.
yeah,
Yes.
it's basically in hell, and it's like the Divine Comedy because now he's walking around and Dr. Fate is the who puts him through.
It's one of the
Dante.
philosophers.
Virgil.
Yeah. Where he's like, hey, here's this person. Here's how they're suffering for eternity for their curse. And
And it's like
here's
funny
their
because they
thing.
do like a real world example from a French guy who was suspected of doing witchcraft, and then they have an alien, right? They're like,
Yeah.
well, aliens do magic, they go to hell. People on Earth do magic, they go to hell.
And then
And then like Dr. Fate's doing this to show like this is the downside if you fuck with magic. So like be careful.
yeah, and
Dr.
then
Doctor.
we end on a Silver Age villain. This guy,
he's a hero, right? Oh,
No, it's a villain.
He's a villain because I've
Felix
seen
Faust.
this cover before, right? This was a Justice.
This
League
cover this is like most like one like iconic like in the goofy way Silver Age
Yeah.
covers. Felix Faust turned all the Justice League members into his fingers.
Yeah, and he's like, haha. And then it goes into this long thing about like this guy, Felix Faust, how he ended up suffering afterwards. He was caught in an addict cycle. He was selling his soul.
Yeah, he kept going to different villains and selling pieces of his soul until eventually people were like, "You've sold this everywhere. We don't want your dirty ass
it's-
soul."
Yeah, his soul was like the soul bicycle, like the town bicycle.
So then
like,
he had-
nobody cared about it anymore.
He had to go to the demon Neuron, and Neuron didn't want his soul, so he killed a little girl and took her soul and offered it. But Neuron knew that there was a little girl soul. And it's surprisingly long for like I thought there's like 9 other events going on in this comic, and here we get like the twisted fate of this Silver Age. dude.
Also, I'm like, his name is Faust, which is literally what Faust did in the Spake Zarathustra, right? He sold his soul for power. And so,
Yeah.
like, it's just like, they just take someone and they're like, he's a supervillain. Okay, whatever.
A lot of times, like comic writers, they're writing a new story every fucking month. Like they take inspiration, which is like if you were a comic writer, you would just fucking write like, here's fucking Vegeta, he gonna fight Superman.
Yeah, I would just quit. I wouldn't do this fucking job.
Yes, you would. If you're getting paid to fucking write the goofy shit just for fun, you would do it. Something like that.
You would do it, Phil.
Also, I like taking like historical and biblical characters and updating them in like a modern mythology.
And especially now, you live in like a nerdy culture, but back then, like no one knew who Faust was, and like no kids knew who Felix Faust was. Like you're just introducing like kids to these concepts.
So Faust gets punished by the little girl soul he took, and then that's his terrible thing. And basically, the helmet's just trying to tell him that remember, if you're going to make a bargain, you have to be prepared
Right,
to honor
because
it.
what Faust's big mistake is he said, I'm going to give you my soul, and he gave someone else the little girl's soul, and that was like reneging on the bargain.
And the helmet tells him, if you end up here, I promise you that no one will mourn for you ever, as Faust disappears into ash.
And they focus so much on Felix because he was a villain that Ralph fought in the Justice League a lot, and he was like, I always thought he was just a like kind of goofy guy, and it's like, yeah, he was until he abused magic, and now he rots in hell forever.
So then we have 2 more people robbing
a fucking bank. And this is the New York City. Yeah, robbing a bank in New York City, where I guess the superheroes exist too. As well.
Yeah, because then
The Infinity Inc. shows
yeah,
up.
Lex Luthor's team, and they just beat them a whole bunch of them up, and then we see the new Caucasian female that joined the league, and it's this girl that can just teleport in and out Matrix.
Meanwhile, the original Green Lantern's watching. I'll go down.
Yeah, and then he goes
Yeah.
and talks to I have no idea.
I had no idea
this
who
is.
these
He
people were.
summons ghosts for kids because it's Halloween, which is cute. But Michael.
Oh, that's Mr. Terrific.
Oh, Mr. Terrific. He's the guy who's an atheist who's visible to technology.
Stupid, Daryl.
Oh.
Yeah, so basically what they're doing, they just say that like Alan Scott is like they're reforming Checkmate. They asked me to be the leader, and I want you to be
not
my
leader,
regular.
White King.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So this is just to set up the new Checkmate book, and I know you guys hate this, but this is why the editor of DC hated 52 because his book didn't do this enough. Where it has scenes just to hype up new books. So like this was like their concession. Like, we've been telling all these interesting stories. I guess we'll hype up a new book. Here's a new.
But at the same time, I think this narratively still, even if it's just as an aside, it still makes sense here in the plot because there was the Justice League massacre that we saw was orchestrated by Skeets, all this stuff, and then we see the government's reaction is to reform Checkmate, and then
And it's not the government. It's not the government. Now the UN wants.
Oh yeah, the UN reinstates Checkmate because of
Martian
this.
Manhunter
And we
convinced the
see
US to give it
characters
up.
that were involved in the first volume are now being reintroduced as like they were the like statesmen that were like we're going to retire now, and they're now getting these bureaucratic positions. I think that works in this overarching narrative.
It does if it continues to show up. The way I was saying it's that it's setting up a new book. If the rest of this stuff is all in the new book, I'm like.
But that's one of the realities of complicating. Like
It
they
is,
pushed. They
yeah.
fought back.
I
against,
don't remember if this happened.
But what's more
Yeah, I don't think
important
it does.
is the Scorpion robot.
On the island of mad scientists is rampaging, and then.
And then this is where we reveal that Magnus is like, I don't want to take I have to take my pills just to avoid being part of madness like this. I don't want to be part of this mad scientist shit.
And it's like, oh, that's interesting that you're taking your pills to avoid creativity. And then we have Boss Manheim, the leader of Intergang, is meeting with the head of China.
No.
Remember when I said Wonder Woman fought a giant egg in the Silver Age? This is how the giant egg was brought into the modern era.
Yep.
So this giant egg, Egg Fu, but they call him Chang Zhu, and he is the one like orchestrating this island. And Inner Gang goes to him. The reason why they have all these scientists and everything is because Inner Gang is trying to fund and buy technology that will deal with the Kandok situation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Presumably take out Black Adam.
Is he an egg actually?
So originally he was an egg. Now he's actually an alien with a giant oval body. And as a joke, people call him Egg Fu, but he hates it. Like it's like trying to make it work, but like still keeping the character intact.
Right.
And he says, we're gonna call the things that we're gonna make to stop Black Adam and Kandok the Four Horsemen. So we'll have to look for them in the future. And then perhaps the most important issue is coming up.
The beast who came to dinner.
This issue, goddamn. This was the filler issue, I feel like, of the entire thing that I've read.
Oh, really? Okay.
So week 26 starts with Black Adam and Isis and Osiris dropping off the Question and Renee
In the middle of the Himalayas.
Basically, they're in the middle of the Himalayas. They're near Nanda Parbat, which if you're a longtime fan, that's where the Question trained.
Yeah, and that's to back up what Phil and Darren were saying. They're like, it seems like you're nowhere, because that's what Black Adam is saying. But the Question's like, no, I got this. Don't worry.
Yeah, and they get dropped off, and this is where Renee meets the Question supporting cast. Richard Dragon, who trained him in, like, Kung Fu and stuff, and Tot, who's, like, this old guy that he's, like we said before, the guy in the chair that, like, makes the phone calls, sends them, all that stuff. And then we get just some of the media's reaction. Yeah, it's Jack Ryder, but it's just saying, like...
Oh, the Creeper!
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. He's basically like a Bill O'Reilly figure who's like, superheroes are, destroying. Look at this massacre. Here to talk about it is John Henry Irons.
I wouldn't say it's funny, because if you remember the original Question, he was this role. Like, it's your fault, viewer, for doing this. But he's not Jack Ryder.
Vic was?
His Question's role. No, he wasn't. But I'm saying, remember the original Question, the one from the one that was like a libertarian propaganda? Like, he said, I blame you people for not being believing enough in our system or whatever.
Hey, Steve Ditko created both of them. That makes sense.
Oh yeah, he did. Jack Ryder probably was like this in his original creation then. Probably.
Yeah, he was. So he has John Henry Irons on to talk about like how come Infinity Inc. is bad.
You think
and he's like,
you're an elitist? You're allowed to have steel skin, but no one else?
Capitalism, free market capitalism. You got to give it to whoever can pay for it.
Yeah, and he's like, if you have a building on fire, you call the fire department. They've trained every day for this. And he's like, so what about the Citizens Fire Brigade? And he's like, they can help, but they're not the ones rushing into the buildings. You want to blame somebody, blame Lex Luthor. And then he's like, that sounds like a cue to me. And he brings in Natasha, and they argue about it again. And she's like, we train every day, 4 hours a day.
And again, she makes a really compelling argument.
Yeah, she really does. She's like, you people just sit around complaining and taking pieces out of the people who actually help. And he's like, heroism is an act of altruism. How can it be funded by a corporation? And then, her line is so good. She's like, if you'll excuse me, my ear set's going off. There's been an explosion in Hobbs Bay. Feel free to stay here and be on TV, though. I have to go help. And they cut to commercial break, and John Henry Irons is just, like, so sad.
Yeah.
Then...
this is another scene where I'm like, I was going to hate this, because we get to see Dr. Sylvana's kids.
Yeah, so it cuts to the Savannah family, who is just Dr. Savannah. We saw very early in the last book, and now he's on the island. He's the mad scientist who fights Captain Marvel.
Yeah, so here's the thing about his family. He has two kids that are exactly like him, two twins.
No, I can sum it up. It's Dilbert. Two of them look like the dad. Two of them look like the mom.
Yes.
And the mom's
yes,
hot.
exactly. And the mom is like an Adonis, so the kids look like Adonis.
Yeah, and the kids are ugly, short little boy things.
And basically, the main thing that happens is she donated a bunch of money to Kandok orphans so that Black Adam and the family would come and talk to her and like have dinner with them. And she says like, I divorced my husband, I still love him, but like
the teaser here is that the kids are trying in the basement trying to make some time portals so they can go back to first grade or something. But we see like we know time is broken somehow, and there's like a person in the time stream saying like, I know why, and they're like, what? And then it blows up, and I'm like, oh, this is more time stuff.
Yeah. And there's also in the basement there's this like lizard monster that's just like growling at them.
And the mom calls the twins up for dinner before they can go.
Yeah.
And they're like, Mom, why can't Magnificus do this?
Yeah.
And he's like, because he's finishing his tan.
Yeah, Magnificus and Butia are the two handsome, attractive children. Mm-hmm. And then you have, I forgot these dudes' names.
I don't remember.
Georgia.
They're just the twins, the Dorothy twins.
She invites them because she wants to like explain like we're we want to.
We know our husband calls you shit, but we want we know you're trying to be heroic, so please help our family.
Yeah, my husband is like a piece of shit. That's why I divorced him. I still love him, but like I'm not a villain like he was. I'm not gonna try to destroy you. Let's be like one big family, right? And then we cut back to Oolong Island. Again, there are just lots of bug robots.
Killing the guards again. I'm like, who fucking takes his job? Mad scientist.
And he's like, the guy creating all the giant bugs is like, it's sabotage. My robots can't be this bad. You're fucking me up, you bastards.
Yeah.
This is it's the next step of capitalism. After automation, you take whatever job you can get, right?
Here's the scene I'll piss off. No, I would say get rid of like the trophy wives for this scene because it makes no sense. Because a woman shows up and all the guys are like nerds and they're like, oh no, a girl. And
Because they're like,
yeah.
she shouldn't be the scientist. Is what they're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah, she's
Girls
Veronica
are-
Kell.
what?
She's
No,
she's a
because they're like
scientist.
they're quiet and they're like, can anyone have a restrictive enzyme sequence to spare? And they're like, and they all start tossing it at her. Yeah, use mine. It's very much the nerds are like eager to
Yeah.
impress this
Well, in the
girl.
beginning, they didn't believe that the new scientist would be a girl. Because
Yeah, they're like,
sexist.
and they're like women. They're good.
They literally say women's place is in the kitchen.
right. So like,
A few of them do, but it's just like the nerd thing where you say that when you're on the internet, but when the real girl shows up, you're like, you want to go on a date?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's this whole plot is supposed to be like critiquing that like
Nerds
whole
are the worst, aren't they, guys?
Yeah. So now they're having this big feast. It cuts back to the Savannah household, and they're having like this huge, like it looks like a Thanksgiving feast. Is this Thanksgiving? It might
It
be.
might be because
actually.
last issue was Halloween.
Yeah.
So it's probably
Yeah. And basically, Osiris is like, this is stupid. She just wants us to go find this crazy scientist. She wants to find her husband. And, like, we should be fighting them, not eating with them. I'm leaving. And he storms off, and he's like,
You have the powers of Black Adam. You have a family. What more do you need? And Osiris says, I need friends. And he flies off.
and then they make
Yeah.
a really racist comment about them.
yeah.
Oh,
they're-
yeah. The beautician says, sorry, sweetie, I don't speak camel jockey.
Yeah, because they were speaking, I guess,
It's-
Kandakian or whatever.
Yeah, it's fucking Arabic.
But yeah, they it was very obviously these people are still villains, but Osiris is basically like, we're running from one function to the next. I've done every single thing you've asked me for. I still don't have any time to myself. And then right after he leaves, that giant lizard from before starts smashing everything up. He's eating the whole turkey. And then he grabs the turkey and then runs away.
And then Butia says, look what it did to my hair. And she's like, we'll take you to the barbershop machine after dinner. And then one of the other ugly ones says, we're in my hair too. And they're like, shut up, Georgia.
Yeah. And they're like, where? And Black Adam's like, where did it go? And outside, Osiris is kind of just like moping around.
He says,
and
I'm moping outside of the statue of Dr. Savannah.
Yeah.
Himself.
And he finds the lizard guy crying. And when he sees him, he's like, please don't hurt me.
And he looks very doughy-eyed, like very cartoony.
Yeah, and he's like, but you're a crocodile, as I was until 6 months ago, and the Dr. Savannah pulled me out of the Nile and brought me here. I didn't understand what he said. I remember him laughing at me. I was down in his lab. He was feeding me all these glowing things. Then I grew hands. And then one day he left and never came back, and I've just been in a cage for months. I haven't eaten, and I finally broke out, and I was just going to leave, but I smelled the dinner. It was so good. I was so hungry. I'm sorry. And he starts crying.
Oh God, Ryan,
and
we're
he's like,
spending so much time on a filler issue.
Is this a filler issue? That's a big
this
question.
is important.
This is an important issue.
Yeah, then he's like, I'm sorry if I scared your
Spoilers,
family.
there are no spoiler issues in this entire comic.
Yeah.
No filler issues. What did I say?
Yeah, everything matters.
Yeah, everything matters.
So he's like, I'm sorry if I scared your family. And he's like, your friends? He's like, I don't have any friends. And the lizard's like, I wish I had friends to eat with. And then he's like, what's your name? And he says he doesn't have one. He's like, well, do you want one? And look, Osiris has made a friend. It's a crocodile monster.
This is why it's a good thing we have two people read before, because if we skipped a bunch of stuff that happens this issue, it will be very confusing later on.
Yeah. But that concludes Volume 2 of 52.
Whew.
So how do you guys feel after Volume 2? Better or worse than after Volume 1? I will admit, I like Volume 1 a lot more than Volume 2.
Go ahead, break my heart, guys.
Worse, but not that much. I still enjoyed this a lot.
Okay.
It's
Cool.
like I said before. I don't think I just don't think I like comic events. I think it breaks the world for me. I'm obviously a big the world needs to make sense person, and this just doesn't. But
That's why you're not a
yeah,
fan.
that's why I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
But I find a lot of the storylines compelling. I'm interested in the Natasha Henry Irons dynamic and the Lex stuff. I'm interested in the Dimney stuff a little bit. But the Kondak stuff I'm kind of interested in still too. So I'm kind of interested to see what happens with Skeets too.
Yeah.
So
Cool. That's a lot of plot lines that you're like, I want to know what happens.
There's
That's
a lot of
cool.
plot lines in the book.
Yes, but like still, when it's not just like I'm only following it for this one character, like that's cool. That it's like, you know. What about you, Daryl?
Definitely worse. It was, a lot of the plot lines I was kind of interested went down. There's some things. One of the things that really, really annoyed me was like I liked how Renee and the Question got thrown into jail and they were beat up, and because it still shows you that Black Adam's stuff is like garbage.
Yeah,
like
Kahndaq
he might be a nice person, but like Kahndaq's like, and it's especially it's like I was thinking it's like what is ISIS doing about this? Does she know? Does she allow it? Because a lot of times it doesn't seem like she reins in her husband that much. But then they never ever brought up to him that they were literally getting beat without being like a free trial first or anything. I'm like, I was waiting for them so much for her to be like, this is a shit country you're running. I got beat up by being captured. But instead they're just like, hey, thanks for flying us over. We're all friends now. And I'm like,
That's
like if Kim Jong-un put me into prison and then beat me up and then took me out and he's like, thank you for like saving me out of marriage.
If Kim Jong-un, they made you royalty after.
I would still like, you'd still just like make some mention of it, I suppose.
Yeah,
Especially,
no, that's fair.
Especially Renee.
Black Adam, Renee's first initial action, Black Adam, was him choking life out of her. I don't think she's going to push the issue.
Yeah.
I feel like she's in a place she would press the issue. Like that,
especially
that's
if she
kind
wanted
of
to
her
die.
character. Yeah. Other than that, there's all the other storylines. I'm like, they're still a bit interesting, but it's definitely a thing as it starts to ramp up comic bookiness. That's why I'm like, I just don't know. Especially when you guys saying like the defense of this is a very 70s concept, which is harkening back to that time when I'm like, that was literally when comic books were like among their stupidest. And you guys are like, but it's cool the way that they're doing it now, like how they're modernizing this stuff, and it's not working for me. It's easy to read and it's still interesting.
That's
I will
good.
say. And
I'll take
I'm
that.
the mystery of like what is Skeets doing, who is Supernova, and what's going to happen to Ralph are very
definitely
gripping.
Cool.
That's why I got annoyed when you guys like Grant Morrison, because like that's why I'm not Grant Morrison. I'm not the biggest Grant Morrison fan, because that's what all he does is like let's take a goofy Silver Age concept and use it. But if you make it pretentious enough for you guys, I guess you all buy it.
No, maybe I'd have to read more Grant Morrison, because the only thing I liked of his is him parodying and satirizing, like talking about what Silver Age comics did to the teenage brain. I love that idea. Yeah. I wouldn't love so much his idea of being like, but they're really great. Let's just do them all the time.
That's what's weird about these like huge crossover events is like, I know you guys keep saying this guy's a satire, this island's a satire, but when it's like interspersed, where it's like, take this seriously, but comics are really fucking dumb, but take this seriously.
Like Metal Gear.
That's actually why I love Metal Gear, especially.
Yeah,
why I really
I think Metal Gear is dumb.
That's why I love. That's why I really find manga interesting. The problem is a lot of the stuff I've read so far is very predictable. But manga, a lot of times, does not give a fuck about tone whatsoever. It'll be super corny at one point and get super dark. I love that about manga. Like manga is not afraid to like TV and film, more film I should say. TV is very ambitious now, more so. But film is very predictable. Like what you know. When's going to be happy and when's not going to be happy. And it's so the storytelling has been so drilled down. I appreciate when people aren't afraid to use tones inconsistently.
I also think that in a book like 52, where there's a lot of really heavy bummer stuff happening, even though like what's interesting is it seems on paper like it would be very jarring jump from back to back, but you guys both referred to it as very easy to read.
It is.
Which I think like a lot of times the really silly stuff to me is a nice palate cleanser, because like the booster stuff really bums me out. Do I want to be sad for like 50, 60 pages?
That's a fair point.
Really.
And
this is all sad.
To Sly's like anime manga comparison, a lot of them do that where it's like serious stuff, then high school stuff, and then serious stuff.
Yeah.
I
feel like the difference there is it's characters being silly. Like here's the comedic relief character running in to look at a girl's boobs,
but not
rather than
plots.
like
There's
an island of a bunch of idiots making science inventions that kill guards.
Yeah,
I don't know. They have silly plots too.
There's an episode of Code Geass where they use the mechs to make giant pizza at the high school.
I'm just thinking about Dragon Ball Z where they fight Cell, but then they also they fucking fight like Garlic Jr. and
I hate that too. I hate Hercule being like, I'm gonna fight Cell.
I love Hercule. Hercule's fucking great.
Okay, guys, this is a different podcast, and we've kept these people long enough. So, I'm very interested to see how we continue. So remember, over the next 2 weeks, we'll be doing part 3 and then the final part 4 of 52. So join us next week, and we will continue with whatever the next 13 issues are. So, and remember, We're in the middle of our Patreon drive right now. So if you go over to patreon.com/flying machine, you can join at any tier. There's a $1 tier, a $5 tier, and a $10 tier. Just last week, up until and including yesterday, I was releasing 1 or 2 episodes per day for the music podcast I do, 33 and a Third Under 45, that are audio versions with music clips of the blogs that I write at the Flying Machine website. So that's 10 old episodes. Well, 10 old blogs that are brand new episodes, 2 older episodes, and 2 brand new ones that just came out Monday and Tuesday, yesterday. So go over to flyingmachine.network/support or patreon.com/flyingmachine, or you can join the Flying Machine Facebook group, which is the Flying Machine Explorers Guild, where you see lots of giveaways. I was giving away some comics this week. We got movies, original art, all sorts of stuff. We have lots of goals that as soon as we hit those, you get things like live streams where Malcolm and John will write a complete song. I'm watching a movie because we hit one of our goals, a movie I've never seen before, probably going to be Alien, and going to do a live stream and talk about it. So yeah, it should be awesome. And thank you for listening and for backing us on this Patreon drive. For Divisive Issues, I've been the only metal that's a liquid at room temperature.
I've been John Shitting Bull.
I'm just a knockoff of my dad.
And I've been an alligator that's somehow going to be the most important character in this whole entire event.
Stay in continuity.